Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic Radio Theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet.
Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Comedy on this Sure Happy It's Thursday edition with the Lux Radio Theater's adaptation of My Man Godfrey, starring William Powell and Carole Lombard. Also an episode of The Great Gildersleeve from Wartime, starring Harold Peary. Also an episode of the Jack Benny program as Jack tries to explain to the Colmans why the Oscar was stolen. And also we will have an episode of Superman. That's all straight ahead on this Sure Happy It's Thursday. 9th day of May, 130th day of the year, 236 days remaining. Christopher Columbus left Spain for his final journey to the New World, his fourth, on this date in 1502. Happy birthday, Reno. Reno was founded on this date in 1868. Used to be the biggest city in the state of Nevada. Now it's the second, or is it the third? I don't remember exactly, because those numbers change so much. Las Vegas is definitely the largest city in the state of Nevada, and I think Henderson may be second. Those are both down in the southern part of Nevada. In 1945, the final German surrender to Marshal Georgy Zhukov at Berlin-Karsour, signed by Colonel General Hans-Jürgen Stumpf as the representative of the Luftwaffe, Field Marshal William Keitel as the chief staff of the OKW, and Admiral Hans-Georg von Friedenberg as commander-in-chief of the Kriegsmarine. Also on that same date in 1945, Hermann Goering captured by the Army. In 1950, L. Ron Hubbard published his book on Dianetics entitled Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health. In 1955, Sam and Friends debuted on a local TV station, marking the first television appearance of Jim Henson and what would become Kermit the Frog and the Muppets back in 1955. In 1960, Food and Drug Administration approved the sale of the first birth control pill. In 1967, Muhammad Ali was stripped of his boxing titles for refusing induction into the armed services.
America at this moment is paying greatly for her stand in Asia. She's losing world power and money. Boys are dying daily. So this just comes with the price you pay for taking stands that you believe in that are unpopular in certain societies.
Muhammad Ali on this date back in 1967. In 1974, the House Judiciary Committee opened formal and public impeachment hearings against President Nixon.
I don't need to stress again the importance of our undertaking and the wisdom, decency, and principle which we must bring to it. We understand our high constitutional responsibility. We will faithfully live up to it.
Judiciary Committee Chairman Peter Rodino. In Florida on this date in 1980, Liberian freighter SS Summit Venture hit the Sunshine Skyway Bridge over Tampa Bay, sending 35 people to a watery death, most in a bus, as a 1,400-foot section of the bridge collapsed. In 1994, Nelson Mandela inaugurated as South Africa's first black president. In 2005, Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger selected as the successor of Pope John Paul II. Among those passing away on this date in history, very funny man Alan King.
Well, like I've been reading about brainwashing and psychological warfare. If the scientists want to come to my house for 2 weeks, my wife will show you how to pick a brain apart.
Alan King passing away on this date in history, along with food manufacturer C.W. Post, the most known for the Post cereals, actor Edmund O'Brien, countries Keith Whitney, Mrs. Phil Harris, Alice Faye passing away on this date, singer-actress Lena Horne passing away, also Vidal Sassoon, and Little Richard. Among those born on this date include the abolitionist John Brown, shipbuilder Henry Kaiser, musician Hank Snow, Please Help Me, I'm Falling, journalist Mike Wallace, and actor Albert Finney.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
Birthdays today include from Mary Tyler Moore, The Simpsons, In Terms of Endearment, producer-writer James L. Brooks, he's 84. The man who sang about Dizzy, Tommy Rose, 82 years old today. Clint Holmes, who's made a good living in Las Vegas for the years, his big hit, Playground in My Mind. Clint Holmes, 78. Billy Joel, 75 today. R&B singer Tamia Hill is 49. And from Rent, Rosario Dawson is 45. And turning 78 today, a young lady you might have heard of. From Murphy Brown, Candace Bergen. But this isn't from Murphy Brown. This is her when she was 11.
Candy, you're almost 12 now, aren't you? Have you given any thought to the future? I mean, what are some of your plans?
Oh, well,
you going to embark on a theatrical career?
Oh, yes, I'd like to do that. And I'd like to be a dress designer.
You do dancing, too?
Oh, I take modern dance.
Mm-hmm. And what can you do?
Well, I can sing.
You sing? In that case, Candy, Melinda, and I will sing a song that we've been carefully rehearsing for the past 3 weeks. Now, Mr. Meekin, would you mind giving us a start here? Now get together and sway and smile. Go!
Won't you play a simple melody like my mother sang to me? One with good old-fashioned harmony. Play a simple melody.
Musical demon, such a honey dream. Won't you play me some rag? Just like a beautiful rag is like a beautiful drag. If you will play from a copy of a tune that is sharp, you'll get all my applause. And that is simply because my honey baby's simply crazy about rag.
From a 1958 episode of You Bet Your Life, Groucho and his daughter Melinda, and of course Candace Bergen, Candy Bergen at the time. Candace Bergen, 78 years old today. Those just a few of the people who were born on this 9th day of May, and if this happens to be your birthday...
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
We'll start off in a moment with an episode of the Lux Radio Theater from 86 years ago today, May 9th, 1938, My Man Godfrey, starring William Powell and Carole Lombard. You're listening to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-515-6302. 800-515-6302. 800-515-6302. That's 800-515-6302.
Mailman, mail today.
Got a very nice email from Richard, who had these comments about our show saying, I meant to send this a few weeks ago, but then again, I'm often behind listening to the podcast. And I know how that goes. That's one of the beautiful things about doing these podcasts the way we are, is that you don't have to listen to them on the specific day that they're heard. And of course, we often have John Dehner on many of our shows. He says, you mentioned John Dehner, and I have to agree with you. He was a great actor. When he was a bad guy, I hated him. When he was a good guy, I loved the character. I wish I'd paid more attention to him as an actor when he was alive. Well, one of the things about John Dehner is that's a sign of a good actor. And it depends. And one of the other things is the writing. On many of the Western shows, the writing was really, really good, particularly Gunsmoke. But Have Gun Will Travel also had some really good writers as well. And, I think John could make even the worst roles sound decent, and he could also make the best scripts just shine, absolutely. Richard continues, keep up the information you provide regarding the radio shows and the actors. It has a personal touch, and I find it very interesting. The format of the show is very enjoyable. I even enjoy listening to the old commercials. Some of them bring back memories. This is probably the only place I don't mind commercials. As always, take care of yourself. The show is important, but your health is more important. Sincerely, a very happy listener. Thanks, Richard, for the email. And folks, if you want to drop us an email, you can do that. classicradiotheater@gmail.com. And you can always find our contact information over at classicradio.stream. That's classicradio.stream. One of the other beautiful things about doing the podcast as opposed to the over-the-air radio show is I can run shows like you're about to hear without having to take the digital blade to them and hack them up severely. This is an episode of the Lux Radio Theater, which was an hour-long show, and because of radio the way it is, we only had like 40 minutes to each hour of classic radio theater on the radio, but I can at least give you a show like this. A couple of wonderful actors, William Powell and Carole Lombard, in the radio adaptation of My Man Godfrey. This goes back 86 years, May 9th, 1938.
From Hollywood, California, the Lux Radio Theater presents William Powell and Carole Lombard in My Man Godfrey, with Gail Patrick, Misha Auer, and David Niven.
Lux presents Hollywood. First, a word of thanks to you, our loyal listeners. It's because of your continued purchases of our products, Lux Toilet Soap and Lux Flakes, that we're able to bring you these programs every Monday night. Twice in recent weeks, we have made a special announcement at the end of our performance. The response to this announcement has been so enthusiastic that we are making it again tonight. You will hear it at the end of this program. Listen for it carefully, please. Our guests tonight include Miss Madeline Fields, Carole Lombard's close friend and personal business manager, and Mr. Eric Hatch, author of the novel and co-author of the picture script on which our play is based. Louis Silvers conducts our orchestra. We take this opportunity to express our gratitude to the Women's National Radio Committee, which, representing 2 million members of women's clubs the country over, has just voted the Lux Radio Theater the best dramatic program on the air. And now, your host and producer. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cecil B. DeMille.
Greetings from Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. A few years ago, I selected 2 Mack Sennett bathing beauties for my first talking picture, Dynamite. One of the girls was Madeline Fields, whom I thought had a future in pictures. The other was Jane Peters, whom I discharged for lack of talent. Today, Miss Peters, one of the screen's cleverest actresses, is known as Carole Lombard, and Miss Fields is Carole's personal business manager, which sometimes prompts even my best friends to tell me that I'm not the world's greatest talent scout. William Powell, who stars with Miss Lombard tonight, started his theatrical career as an usher in Kansas City for exactly nothing a week. He reached the stage because of a 23-page letter he wrote to an aunt in Pittsburgh. It must have been a remarkable letter because it obtained a $700 loan which took young Mr. Powell to New York and dramatic school. Celebrated for his debonair drolleries, a master of the lifted eyebrow and the screen's #1 Beau Brummel, we hear him shortly in his great screen characterization, the title role in My Man Godfrey. Miss Lombard, our First Lady of Lunacy, is active again as that moonstruck maiden Irene Bullock. 3 more celebrities round out our star-studded cast. Miss Gail Patrick as Cornelia, Misha Auer as Carlo, and David Niven as Tommy Gray. It's curtain time, and the Lux Radio Theater presents Carole Lombard and William Powell in My Man Godfrey with Gail Patrick, Misha Auer, and David Niven. It's a gorgeous night on New York's waterfront. Softly the moonlight tips the majestic spires of the Queensboro Bridge with a silvery glow and comes gently to rest on a pile of refuse known as the city dump. In the center of this wasteland, a small fire is burning, and our man Godfrey, in tattered clothes with a 3-day growth of beard, sits on a packing case warming his hands. The 16-cylinder motor purrs softly into the scene and comes to a stop. 3 people alight. One of them, a young lady in evening clothes, steps gingerly toward the fire.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How'd you like to make $5?
How would I didn't quite catch what you said.
I said, how would you like to make $5?
Well, I don't want to seem inquisitive, but what would I have to do for it?
Oh, all you have to do is go to the Waldorf Ritz Hotel with me, and I'll show you to a few people, and then I'll send you right back.
May I inquire just why you would want to show me to people at the Waldorf Ritz?
Well, if you must know, it's a game, a scavenger hunt. If I find a forgotten man first, I win. Is that clear?
Yes, quite clear. Shall I wear my tails or come just as I am?
Now, you needn't be fresh. Do you want the $5 or don't you?
Madam, I can't tell you how flattered I am by your very generous offer.
What are you doing? Get away from me.
However, I'm afraid I'll have to take it up with my board of directors.
Don't you push me.
And no matter what my board of directors advise, I think you should be spanked.
Oh! Knock me down. You deliberately pushed me into that junk pile.
No, I didn't, but it suited you nicely.
George!
I saw that. I saw what you did. Are you in the habit of hitting ladies?
Maybe. I'm in the habit of hitting gentlemen also, if that would interest you.
Don't you touch me.
George, aren't you going to do anything?
I certainly am. I'm going to get a policeman. Come along.
George, come back here, George.
Get in, dear. I'll show you.
Oh, hello.
Hello? Who are you?
I'm Irene. Oh, that was my sister Cornelia you pushed in the ash pile.
How would you like to have me push Cornelia's sister into an ash pile?
Oh, I don't think I'd like it.
Wait a minute. Are you a member of this hunting party?
I was, but I'm not now. The funniest thing, I couldn't help but laugh. You know, I've wanted to do that ever since I was 6 years old.
You wanted to do what?
Oh, push Cornelia in something. You know, a pile of ashes or something. Cornelia thought she was going to win, and you pushed her into a pile of ashes.
Look, do you think you could follow an intelligent conversation for just a moment?
I'll try.
Well, that's fine. Do you mind telling me just what a scavenger hunt is?
Well, a scavenger hunt is exactly like a treasure hunt, except that in a treasure hunt you find something you want, and in a scavenger hunt you try to find something that nobody wants. And the one that wins gets a prize, only there really isn't a prize, because all the money goes to charity. That is, if there's any money left over, but then there never is.
Well, that clears up the whole matter beautifully.
Oh, thank you. Well, I suppose I should be going, shouldn't I?
That's a good idea.
Oh, I want to see who won the game. I suppose it was Cornelia again. She's probably got another forgotten man by now.
You mean if you took me along with you, that you'd win the game? Is that the idea?
Well, I might if I got there first.
Let's beat Cornelia.
It wouldn't be asking too much?
Not at all. I'm very curious. I'd really like to see just what a scavenger hunt looks like.
Oh, but I just told you.
Yes, but I'm still curious.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, ladies and gentlemen, quiet, please. Your attention, please. Miss Bullock has the forgotten man.
Well,
here he is. Would you mind stepping up on the platform,
Yes,
please?
get right up on the platform, Godfrey. Doesn't he look funny?
Just stand over there, between the monkey and the goat. ought to see a barber. Now, do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Fire away.
What is your address?
City Dump 32, East River. Sutton Place.
Quiet, please, ladies and gentlemen. Is that your permanent address?
Well, the permanency is rather questionable. You see, the place is being rapidly filled in.
Do you mind? May I ask you a personal question?
If it isn't too personal.
Are those whiskers your own?
No one else has claimed them.
Thank you. Now, one more question. Are you wanted by the police?
That's just the trouble. Nobody wants me.
Oh! A very good answer.
Splendid, Godfrey.
The committee is satisfied. Miss Irene Bullock wins the scavenger hunt for the forgotten man.
Turn around, Godfrey. Shush. He's going to speak.
My purpose in coming here tonight was twofold. First, I wanted to aid this young lady. Second, I was curious to see how a bunch of empty-headed nitwits conducted themselves.
What do you think?
My curiosity is satisfied. I assure you it will be a pleasure for me to go back to a society of really important people. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
I never heard of it.
Godfrey, wait. Oh, Godfrey, I'm terribly sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
Oh, I'd never brought you in there if I thought they were going to humiliate you. You know, I'm terribly grateful. It's the first time I've ever beaten Cornelia at anything, and you helped me do it. Oh, I wish I could do something for you.
Why?
Because you've done something for me, don't you see?
Well, I could use a job if you've got one lying around loose.
Can you buttle?
Buttle?
Yes, we're fresh out of Butler's, the one we had left this morning.
I'm afraid I wouldn't be much good at that.
Oh, yes, you would. You're going to make the best butler we ever had.
You really think so?
Oh, I do.
Well, all right. Thank you.
Good night, Godfrey.
Good night, Miss Bullock.
Good night.
Well?
I beg your pardon. I'm the...
Yes, you're the new butler. Well, I'm the old maid. Come in.
Oh, thank you. How did you know I was the new butler?
Oh, there's one every morning at this hour. They're dropping in and out all the time.
Is the family that exacting?
No, they're that nutty.
I see. Does the butler have quarters here in the house, or isn't it necessary?
You won't need any quarters. Just hang your hat near the door so you can get it quickly on your way out.
What's that?
That's the old battle axe. She usually rings about this time.
The old battle axe?
Yeah, Mrs. Bullock. She's the mother type. If she has the jitters, and she usually does, she'll ring again in a minute in no uncertain terms. Then, brother, you better grab her tomato juice and get going. Well, there she goes. Well, Cupid, this is your big opportunity.
Shall I take it to her?
Yeah, but you might as well know the worst, but I want to warn you. She, sees pixies.
Pixies?
Mm-hmm. You know, the little men.
Oh, those.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Where do I find her?
Upstairs. She's in the first cage on the right.
Well, wish me luck.
Happy landing.
Who is it?
Good morning, Mrs. Bullock.
Good morning. What day is it, Molly?
I'm not Molly.
Who isn't Molly?
I'm not.
Well, stop jumping up and down so I can see who you are.
I'm not jumping.
It's better. What's your name?
Godfrey.
Are you someone I know?
We met last night at the Waldorf Ritz. I'm the forgotten man.
Oh, so many people have such bad memories.
That's the truth. Will you drink this now?
What's that?
Pixie remover.
Oh, then you see them, too.
Yes, we're old friends.
Yes. But you mustn't step on them. I don't like them, but I don't like to see them stepped on.
I'll be very careful. I wouldn't hurt them for the world.
Thank you. Oh, you're a great help. Go away. Go away, little man. Go away. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Oh, there they go. You're very comforting, Godfrey. Oh, good night.
Good night. Good night.
Hello. Put your hat and valise at the foot of the stairs.
Well, I think I won the first round.
You mean you're still working here?
I haven't heard anything to the contrary.
Well, you just got by the cub. Now try the lioness.
Oh. Which is she?
Her name's Cornelia. She's a sweet-tempered little number.
Oh, yes. I met her last night.
Mm-hmm.
Let me have a tray.
Second door.
Thanks.
Who is that?
Good morning, Miss...
What do you mean by barging into my room? You...
But I...
Get out! Get out, you!
wait, you don't...
Get out! Get out, I said, and don't come back! Hello?
Hello. I'm afraid I lost the second round.
Hey, Molly, cut out all the noise and bring me some breakfast.
Opportunity never stops knocking in this house. That's Irene. You want to try again?
Here goes.
Lots of luck.
Good morning. I brought you breakfast.
Oh, are you the new butler?
Don't you remember last night?
Well, what happened to Godfrey?
I'm Godfrey.
Oh, you look so different. What happened to those nice whiskers? Turn around and let me look at you. Oh, you're the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Thank you. Will there be anything else?
Yes, sit down and talk. You know, I like to talk in the morning when your head is clear, especially when you've been somewhere the night before. Sit down.
Well, if you insist, but it doesn't seem very good form for a butler.
Oh, you're more than a butler. You're the first protege I ever had.
Protege?
You know, like Carlo.
Who is Carlo?
He's Mother's protege.
Oh.
You know, it's awfully nice, Carlo, having a sponsor, because then he doesn't have to work and he gets more time for his practicing. But then he never does, and that makes a difference.
Yes, I imagine it would.
Oh, it makes me feel so mature and grown up.
Oh, what does?
Having a protege. You're the first one I ever had. And terribly thrilling. Not only does it occupy my mind, but I think it's character building, too.
No, just what does a protege have to do?
Oh, you just go on butling and I sponsor you, don't you see?
It's getting clearer.
Well, it's really not much work, but it gives you something to think of. It's going to be such fun.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be heaps of fun. But you see, a protege has certain responsibilities also. For instance, if someone should ring for me now and I didn't answer, that would reflect upon you, because you're my sponsor, don't you see?
Yes, I suppose it would. I never thought of that. Oh, you don't know how nice it is having some intelligent person to talk to.
Yes, it's been very enlightening to me, too.
Oh, I just thought of something else. Do you know what you are?
I'm not quite sure.
You're my responsibility.
That's very nice.
Well, see you in church.
Yes. See you in church.
Goodbye, Godfrey.
Goodbye, miss.
Oh, Godfrey.
Yes, Miss Cornelia?
I see you're still with us, Godfrey.
Yes, miss?
I didn't think you'd last a full day.
Thank you, miss.
Do you like your place here? I mean, so far as you've gone.
I must admit it's more desirable than living in a packing case on a city dump.
Oh, that's where I met you. Yes, I remember now. You were very amusing.
I'm very sorry, miss.
Oh, I didn't mind at all. Have you a handkerchief? There's a spot on my shoe. Will you see what you can do about it?
Of course, miss.
I could have you fired, you know, but I like to see things wriggle. When I get through with you, you'll go back to your packing case on the city dump and relish it. I'll make your life so miserable
Hello,
that...
Godfrey.
Good evening, Miss Irene.
Oh, I like your new monkey suit.
Thank you for picking it out.
Oh, how do you like my new loungy pajamas?
I think they're very nice. Thank you.
I heard what you said to Godfrey.
So what?
So what? You leave him alone.
So who's going to make me leave him alone?
If you don't, you'll get a good sock from me.
Oh, the physical type.
What I say goes.
May I come in?
You're in, aren't you?
Good evening, Irene.
Hello, Carlo.
I've just been reading a very interesting book, The Greeks of the Middle Ages.
Irene would like that. You love the Middle Ages, don't you, dear?
Shut up.
Well, here we are.
Ah, Mrs. Bullock. Как вы поживаете?
Carlo, you're so continental. Oh, it's so nice to see you two girls having a pleasant chat. Or is it a pleasant chat?
Well. Imagine the Bullocks gathered together all in one room.
Don't forget Carlo, Alexander.
Oh, I'm not going to forget Carlo.
Oh, don't bother about me, Mr. Bullock. I feel one of the family.
And you don't mind if I discuss a few family matters, do you, Carlo, my boy?
Oh, no, not at all.
Oh, Alexander, you're not going to bring up those sordid business matters again, I hope.
I've just been going over last month's bills, and I find that you people have confused me with the Treasury Department.
Oh, don't start that again, Dad.
I've got to stop it. The way you people are throwing my money around.
Money. That Frankenstein monster that destroys souls.
What? Say, listen.
Don't say anything more about it. You're upsetting Carlo.
Carlo. Who's the head of this house, Carlo or me?
Here's Godfrey.
The cocktails, sir.
Huh? Oh, thank you, Godfrey.
Not at all, sir. Miss Irene?
Oh, did you make them, Godfrey?
I helped.
Oh, they must be wonderful. I'd like to help sometime if you'll let me.
I'd feel honored.
While we're on the subject, how about this business of certain people picking up anybody they find on the city dump and dragging them into the house? For all we know, we might all be stabbed in the back some night and robbed.
Who's going to stab who, Cornelia?
Well, we don't know a thing about certain people.
You shut up.
I will not shut up. My life's precious to me.
Well, it won't be in a minute.
I think we should get our help from employment agencies.
Well, I don't know but what I agree with Cornelia.
Will you?
Xander, you've upset Carlo, and now you're upsetting Irene. Don't you remember her breakdown last summer?
I do. That's why I'm not paying any attention to this.
Well, if Mother can sponsor Carlo, why can't I sponsor Godfrey?
Oh, Godfrey knows I'm not being personal, but after all, none of us would like to wake up some morning stabbed to death.
Now, Cornelia, you mustn't come between Irene and Godfrey. He's the only thing she's shown any affection for since a Pomeranian died last summer. Oh, now, Irene, you mustn't have a spell.
Well, what is all this nonsense?
Please be quiet. You never did understand women. Why don't you get the doctor?
I don't want a doctor.
Do you want an ice bag?
No, I don't want an ice bag. I want to die.
Oh, you mustn't do that. Carlo, do the gorilla for Irene. It always amuses her.
I'm not in the mood.
Well, stop eating those hors d'oeuvres and get in the mood.
All right, I'll do it, but my heart won't be in it.
Irene, be a good girl, Miss Darling. Carlo's going to imitate a gorilla for you.
A gorilla? I'd rather see him imitate a man.
Alexander.
This is too much. Too much.
It certainly is. I'm getting out of this madhouse. I'll be at the club if you want me, and I hope you don't.
Well, I'm off for dinner. We must all get together again sometime. Goodbye, Irene.
Irene, are you feeling all right? Irene!
Where's Godfrey?
He's right here. Don't go away, Godfrey.
Angelica will be late for the concert.
I've got my things. I'll be right with you. Godfrey's right here, darling.
Where?
Right here. Look, see, darling? Godfrey, say hello to Irene so she'll know who you are.
Hello?
Oh, hello, Godfrey.
And he's promised to stay on, haven't you, Godfrey?
If I'm wanted.
Oh, of course you'll want it, isn't he, Irene?
Yes, go away.
Yes, darling, I'm going. Goodbye, darling. Come along, Carlo. Hurry.
Hurry. Always hurry.
Oh, Godfrey?
Yes, miss?
Oh, sit down, Godfrey. No, over here by me.
Oh, yes, thank you, miss.
Godfrey, would you mind kissing me?
Miss Irene, I hardly think...
Oh, Godfrey!
Here, now, wait. Please, miss, please, Miss Irene, you mustn't.
Oh, there.
Excuse me.
Oh, Godfrey, come back here. Where are you going?
I'm going to my room.
Oh, Godfrey, wait for me. Godfrey! Open this door. Godfrey! Oh, there you are, Godfrey.
Please, Miss Irene, you can't come in here.
Why not? It's our house, isn't it? And after all, one room is just like any other room. Besides, I want to talk.
I'm terribly sorry, but we can't talk here.
Well, don't you think it's rather indecent of you to order me out after you kissed me?
After I kissed you?
Of course, Godfrey, don't you remember?
Miss Irene, hasn't anyone ever told you about certain proprieties?
Oh, you use such lovely big words. I like big words. What does it mean?
Well, you want me to remain on here as butler, don't you?
Oh, of course.
And I want to justify your faith in me by being a very good butler. And, in time, perhaps filling the void created by the death of your late lamented Pomeranian.
Oh, I've forgotten all about him. He had fleas anyway. Besides, you're different. You use big words and you're much cuter.
May I tell you a story?
I'd love it.
Well, once there was a very sentimental little girl with a very kind heart. And she helped a man who was very grateful. But then she became a nuisance and undid all the fine work she had done.
Oh, is it someone you know?
Her name is Irene Bullock. And if she were a smart little girl, she'd pick out some nice young chap in her own social set and marry him and live happily ever after. And never, never, never enter the butler's room again.
You mean I can never come in here again?
Never. Now, out you go.
Oh, Godfrey, stop.
This way, please.
No, I want to stay. Let me go.
Outside, please.
Will you be sorry?
And don't ever come in here again.
Will you be sorry?
My Man Godfrey. In a moment, our stars will be back for Act Two. Meantime, in our brief intermission, we present a song, one of America's greatest hit tunes, Tippy Tin, adapted, by permission, to our Lux story. Let's suppose that Rosita in Tippy Tin has suffered the embarrassment of a stocking run at the very moment she wishes to look her best. In our Lux version, we offer her a helpful suggestion.
One night the moon was so mellow, Rosita met young Manuelo. He begged for a kiss and heard a hiss from the young miss, this fellow. He said, why, what is so shocking? She hid the rum in her stocking. The date was no go, she suffered so, she had not luxed her stockings. Dip it in, dip it in, dip it in, dip it in. Avoid the cakes of rubbing, stockings take a drubbing, you're not satisfied. Dip it in, dip it in, dip it in, dip it in. Lux keeps stockings stronger, so they last you longer, fewer runs to hide.
Yes, Lux Flakes do cut down on embarrassing stocking runs because they save stocking elasticity. Think how much your sheer stocking stretches every time you bend your knee. If it isn't elastic, it breaks. A run pops. So you can see the importance of preserving elasticity with Lux Flakes. Soaps with harmful alkali and cake soap rubbing weaken elasticity. To get longer wear from your stockings, always wash them with Lux. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, a special announcement none of you will want to miss will come at the end of our performance tonight. Listen for it.
21 seasons on radio, 927 episodes of the Lux Radio Theater, which was big money. It was a big budgeted thing, and the folks at Lux and Unilever spent a lot of money to make a great show. Started out on NBC Blue, which would eventually become ABC, and then CBS and NBC Radio in its final season. And we'll hear more of the Lux Radio Theater presentation of My Man Godfrey, starring William Powell and Carole Lombard, following these important messages. You're listening to Classic Radio Theater.
Are you suffering with anxiety, depression, PTSD, an eating disorder, or even a substance abuse problem? If it's causing problems at work or with your family, get help now. At Insight Mental Health and Wellness, we help and treat all types of depression and mental issues. We will help you use your insurance to get away from it all, to a beautiful, sunny, and tranquil vacation-like environment, so you can recharge yourself. And with the Family Medical Leave Act, you could take the time off you need from work. Plus, with the Affordable Care Act, your treatment could be 100% covered. If you're suffering from any kind of anxiety, depression, PTSD, eating disorder, or even a substance abuse problem, use your insurance and get away from it all. Come to sunny California. Call Insight Mental Health and Wellness now.
800-281-8944. 800-281-8944. 800-281-8944. That's 800-281-8944.
Another interesting factoid is that Cecil B. DeMille, the studio executive producer-director, hosted for a while on Lux Radio Theater. And it turned out that the union got him booted. The American Federation of Radio Artists ended his term as host of Lux Radio Theater. They were assessing at the time $1 each to help back a campaign to enact closed shop rulings in California, meaning if you weren't in the union, you couldn't work on the radio. Well, DeMille was a member of APRA, but he opposed closed shops, so he refused to pay the assessment. Well, when APRA ruled that those not paying fines face suspension from the union, they banned him from appearing on the air. So he was finished on radio. He also refused to let anybody else pay the $1 for him. That was, ethics. He said, I opposed it. I'm not going to pay it. You can't make me. I said, well, you're not going to work in radio, so that's okay. I'll go back and work in movies. And in his autobiography in 1959, he alleged a former member of the American Communist Party later confided to him the party had consciously orchestrated these circumstances of his exclusion from radio. They considered him to be one of their two foremost enemies in radio. So whether or not you believe it, DeMille said it was the communists that got him kicked off radio. Interesting story. Whether or not it's true or not, we'll probably never know. Now more of the Lux Radio Theater from 86 years ago, May 9th, 1938, and here is the band Cecil B. DeMille.
Once again, My Man Godfrey, starring William Powell and Carole Lombard, with Gail Patrick, Misha Auer, and David Niven. 2 days have passed, during which Irene has shown an all too evident affection for her man Godfrey. In the Bullock living room, a cocktail party is in progress. Irene, dressed in mourning, watches with tragic eyes as Godfrey moves among the guests.
Let me see, what did I bid? Spades? I never can tell the difference between spades and trumps.
Some hors d'oeuvres, Mrs. Bullock.
Oh, yes, thank you, Godfrey.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, look, it's Tommy Gray, the polo player. Tommy, come over here. Irene, Cody, look who's here, dear.
How are you, Angelica?
Oh, fine. Godfrey, where are you going? Don't go away.
Oh, sorry.
Give Mr. Gray some hors d'oeuvres, Godfrey.
Very good, ma'am. Mr. Gray?
Thank you. Well, if it isn't Godfrey Park.
Smith, sir. Godfrey Smith.
Smith? What do you mean, Smith?
Do you know Godfrey, Tommy?
Know him. We went to Harvard together.
Imagine a butler with a college education.
A butler? Is this a gag?
Mr. Gray neglected to tell you that when we were in Harvard together, I was his valet.
Was he a good servant, Tommy?
Oh, excellent. What is all this, Godfrey?
I'll tell you later.
Strange you never gave Mr. Gray as a reference, Godfrey.
Well, you see, I left Mr. Gray under very unusual circumstances.
What circumstances?
I'd rather Mr. Gray told you about that.
Yes, go ahead, Tommy. Tell us.
Well, you see, Godfrey was working for us as a butler and so forth. And things were going along very well, but one day... You're sure you don't want to tell this, Godfrey?
Oh, I'd so much rather you would, Mr. Gray.
Well, Godfrey was working for us for quite some time, and one day he came to me and said, Mr. Gray, he said, I trust my work has been satisfactory. And I said, why, of course. I said, I've never had more satisfactory work in all my life. And he said, thank you, sir. He was always very courteous, Godfrey was.
And then he left?
Yeah, he was. Yes. That's it. He decided he had to leave.
Why?
Well, he decided in favor of his wife and 5 children.
5 children?
Godfrey, why didn't you tell me you had 5 children?
You never asked, Miss Irene.
Well, all I've got to say is if other people can have 5 children, so can other people. Well, listen, everybody, I want to make an announcement about something.
An announcement?
I want to announce my engagement.
Congratulations, who's the lucky man, Irene? Not Johnny Van Rumpel.
Yes, that's what it is, Johnny Van Rumpel.
Johnny Van Rumpel.
Godfrey, what is all this?
Meet me tomorrow, Waldorf Ritz Bar, 3 o'clock. I'll explain everything.
Isn't this engagement a little sudden, Irene?
You shut up.
Why don't you wish her luck, Godfrey?
Yes, come and congratulate Irene, Godfrey.
Well, certainly. May I congratulate you, Miss Irene? I wish you all the happiness in the world.
You wish you...
Irene! Well, isn't that funny? Crying at her own engagement party. Sometimes I don't think my daughters are all there.
Godfrey, over here.
Oh. Hello, Tommy.
I thought you said you'd meet me here at 3.
Sorry. It took me a little longer than usual to make the beds.
Oh, well, what are you drinking?
I'll have a rousing lemonade.
Are you sure you can handle it? 1 lemonade, 1 stinger, Joe.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's have it.
What?
The story. When I wander into a Fifth Avenue asylum and see one of the parks of Boston serving hors d'oeuvres, there must be a story.
Yes, there is. Tommy, you remember that little incident up in Boston?
Oh, you still have that woman on your mind?
No, not anymore. But I was pretty bitter at the time. So I gave her everything I had and just disappeared.
And?
Well, Tommy, it's surprising how fast you can go downhill when you begin to feel sorry for yourself. And boy, did I feel sorry for myself. I wandered down to the East River one night, thinking I'd just slide in and get it over with. But I met some fellows living there on the city dump. Fellows who were fighting it out and not complaining. I never got as far as the river.
And what happened?
I did all sorts of things, just to live. Then Well, then something happened. I got a chance to take this job, butling. A chance to rehabilitate myself. I took it.
And that's all?
That's all. But someday, Tommy, I'm going to do a little rehabilitating around that dump. And that's why I'm glad I met you.
Me?
You're going to help, too.
Excuse me, Mr. Gray.
Yeah, oh, yes?
You're wanted on the phone, sir.
Oh. I'll be right back, Godfrey.
Righto.
Good afternoon, Godfrey.
Oh. Good afternoon, Miss Cornelia.
May I sit down? Well, the mystery's solved, isn't it?
The mystery, Miss Cornelia?
Yes. Now I know what a butler does on his day off. When you worked for Mr. Gray, were the two of you always this chummy?
You see, I worked for Mr. Gray a long time, and we got to be...
I see. Well, if you can be so chummy with the Grays, why can't you be chummy with the Bullocks?
I try to keep my place.
Why? You're very attractive, you know.
As a butler?
No, as a smith. You're a rotten butler.
Sorry?
Are we going to be friends?
I feel that on my day off, I should have the privilege of choosing my friend.
You can't go on like this forever. You really like me and you're afraid to admit it, aren't you?
Do you want me to tell you what I really think of you?
Please do.
You won't hold it against me?
It's your day off.
Very well. Miss Cornelia, you belong to that unfortunate category I would call the Park Avenue brat. A spoiled child who has grown up in ease and luxury, who always had her own way, and whose misdirected energies are so childish that they hardly deserve the comment even of a butler on his off Thursday. A spoiled child who has grown up in ease and luxury, who always had her own way, and whose misdirected energies are so childish that they hardly deserve the comment even of a butler on his off Thursday.
Thank you for a very lovely portrait. Goodbye for now. I'll see you down by the ash pile.
Waiter.
Yes, sir?
Change that order. Make it 2 stingers. Double.
Molly.
Yes, Miss Irene?
What are you doing?
Sewing. Some buttons on a coat.
Oh, is it his coat?
Yes. The coat is his.
Oh, I'd like to sew on buttons sometime when they come off. I wouldn't mind at all. I could do it right down here in the kitchen.
He doesn't lose very many.
He's very tidy, isn't he?
Yes, he's very tidy.
Oh, what does he do on his day off?
He never tells me. Oh, he's probably sitting somewhere with some woman on his lap.
Yes.
He's the meanest man I know. I think he's very mean.
I suppose he's sitting somewhere with somebody on his lap that doesn't care for him at all.
As far as I know, maybe his children are there, too, calling him. Oh, I can't bear it. Oh, please don't.
You too?
Yes.
Oh, Molly, I know exactly how you feel.
Good evening.
Godfrey.
How about a quartet? For tomorrow may bring sorrow, so tonight let us be gay. Hi, Toots.
Godfrey, look at you. Where have you been?
A friend of mine, drinking rousing lemonade.
Mother, Irene, everybody, come here quick.
What's the matter, Miss Cornelia?
Mother.
Yeah, what's the matter? What's going on around here now?
Father, my pearls.
What about your pearls?
They've been stolen.
Oh, that's terrible. What'll we do?
Well, we'll call the police. That's what we'll do.
That's the idea. Call the police. G-men.
Give me the phone.
You don't have to bother. I've already called them. And I think I know who did it. In fact, I'm almost sure. What do you say, Godfrey?
Hi, Toots.
One at a time. Wait a minute. One at a time. Wait a minute. Quiet. When did you miss the pearls, Miss Bullock?
This afternoon when I came home. I had put them in my jewel case this morning after breakfast.
She probably lost them. Last year she left them in a taxi.
Did anyone see you put the pearls in the case?
No. Oh, yes. Yes, Godfrey did. He was taking the tray out of my room. He saw me.
Godfrey, eh? Well, who's Godfrey?
That's me. Me.
Butler?
Yes, he's the best butler we ever had.
I'm sure Godfrey didn't do it. Although we don't know very much about him. My sister picked him up on the city dump.
Oh, I see.
Are you accusing Godfrey?
I'm not accusing anyone. I want my necklace.
Oh, it's silly to think of Godfrey wearing a pearl necklace.
Yeah? Do you mind if we search your quarters, Godfrey?
Not at all. This way, everybody.
Shut up! How can I find the pearls with everybody yelling? I can't find them anyhow.
Oh, where is my little doggone?
Oh, shut up, you. Miss Bullock, are you sure you lost your pearls?
Of course I'm sure.
Well, they're not in this room.
Look under the mattress.
What?
I said look under the mattress.
Yes, that's a good place.
Okay. No, they're not under here either.
Oh, but they must be there.
What?
Oh, nothing.
What made you so sure they'd be under the mattress, Cornelia?
Yeah. What made you so sure?
Yeah, what?
That's where people usually hide things, isn't it?
What are you up to?
There's something screwy around here.
Yes, and I think I know who.
Yes, and so do I. Yeah.
Officer, this whole thing looks like a mistake. Now, if you'll just forget it, I'll be very much obliged. My daughter is, she's a little, you know.
Yeah, I know. Only it ain't such a little.
Your coffee, sir?
Listen to this, Godfrey. Mrs. Bullock and her 2 daughters sailed yesterday for a holiday cruise around the world. It is rumored that the younger daughter, Irene, is trying to forget a broken engagement plus another heartthrob, which is the real reason for the trip. Oh, what do you think of that?
It is a little quieter, sir.
The socialite Mrs. Bullock and her 2 charming daughters relaxing on the beach at Deauville. They should relax. This is the first good rest I've had in 20 years. Expected home next week. Godfrey, they're coming home.
Yes, sir. Your breakfast, sir.
Never mind the breakfast. Just bring me a cup of coffee and 4 aspirins.
Hello, Godfrey.
Good evening, miss.
Doing the dishes?
Yes, it's the usual procedure after dinner.
It's nice to be home again, Godfrey.
It's nice to have you.
Did you mean it this afternoon when you said you missed me?
Yes, of course I did.
I mean, did you miss Cornelia or me or just me?
Oh, I may have missed you a little more than I did Cornelia. Why?
Oh, I'm glad, because if you missed Cornelia more, you probably would have missed me less. Oh, you look so cute in your apron. Oh, will you let me do something if I ask you?
Well, what do you want to do?
Wipe.
Oh, all right. And you can tell me all about your trip.
Oh, you won't get mad?
Why should I?
Because every place I went, everybody was Godfrey.
I don't want to seem dull, but I do seem to have a little trouble following you at times.
Well, for instance, whenever I'd go into a restaurant in Paris or any place, I'd close my eyes and I'd say, the waiter was Godfrey. And I'd say, I'm home and he's serving me dinner. Oh, it made everything taste better. And then we went to Venice, and one night I went for a ride in one of those rowboats that a man pushes with a stick. Not a matador, no, that was in Spain, but something like a matador.
Do you by any chance mean a gondola?
Oh, yes, that was the name of the boat, and the man that pushed it sang. He looked just like you. Oh, it was wonderful. I didn't even mind the smell.
Look, do you mind if I talk for a little bit while you catch your breath?
Oh, I'd love it.
Well, while you've been away, I've been doing some things also. I've been trying to do things that I thought would make you proud of me.
Oh, I was proud of you before I went away.
Yes, but I mean prouder still. You see, you helped me to find myself, and I'm very grateful.
Oh, you'd make a wonderful husband.
I'm afraid not. You're just grateful to me because I helped you beat Cornelia. And I'm grateful to you because you helped me to beat life. But that doesn't mean that we have to fall in love.
Well, if you don't want to, but I'd make a wonderful wife.
Well, not for me, I'm afraid. But we are friends, and I feel a certain responsibility to you. That's why I wanted to tell you first.
Tell me what?
Well, I thought it was about time I was moving on.
Oh, Godfrey.
Oh, now, please.
I won't cry, I promise.
That's fine. After all, I'm your protege, and you want me to improve myself, don't you?
Yes.
Well, that's very sweet.
Oh, when are you leaving?
Oh, pretty soon. But I'll call you up every now and then. We'll have long chats. I'll tell you how I'm getting along, and we'll have lots of fun.
Are you going back to her?
To whom?
Your wife.
Wife? Oh. Oh, she was just a fabrication.
Oh, then you aren't married.
Of course not.
And then there aren't any 5 children.
Well, there couldn't be very well.
Oh, Godfrey. Oh, Godfrey.
Did you ring, Miss Cornelia?
Come in, Godfrey. You needn't be so formal when we're alone.
Yes, miss?
There's a little matter I'd like to talk over with you. I met some people on the boat coming over, a Boston family. They know a great deal about a family called the Parks. Are you interested, Godfrey?
Slightly, yes.
Well, we can't talk here very well. Let's you and I take a long taxi ride out Van Cortlandt way.
I heard what you said.
Did you?
He's not going out with you.
Oh, yes, he is, if he knows what's good for him. I'll be waiting, Godfrey.
Well, he's not going. He's not Godfrey. You can't go with Cornelia.
But I didn't say I was going anyplace with Miss Cornelia.
I know, but you will. She always gets her own way. She makes everybody do just as she likes.
Why should you care whether or not I meet her?
I do care. That's why Cornelia's the one who doesn't care.
But I think I should decide those things for myself.
Oh, Godfrey, I don't want to be annoying, but
Oh, Miss Irene. Here, now, get up. Get up, open your eyes. Do you hear me? Open your eyes. Now, if you're faking another spell, you're on the wrong track. Are you faking? Oh, you're not, huh? All right. We'll soon find out. Now, up she goes. Ah, that's the girl. Now, I'll just carry her inside. Godfrey knows how to take care of little Irene when she faints. Godfrey will take care of everything. Right in here we go. Does Irene know where she is now? No, Irene has her eyes closed. She's fainted. But Godfrey will soon fix Irene. Just sit right there. That's the girl. Now, everything will be fine in just a moment. The best thing for the faints is a nice, cold shower bath. There, now, you'll feel fine in a minute.
Oh, Godfrey, come back here. Godfrey, where are you, Godfrey?
I've been stuck running around all wet.
Oh, Mother, he loves me. Godfrey loves me. Put me in the shower. Godfrey loves me. Godfrey, put me in the shower. Oh, Godfrey!
We pause for station identification. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
The curtain falls on the second act of My Man Godfrey. Before Carole Lombard, William Powell, and our all-star cast return for Act 3, we bring you the young lady I mentioned earlier in this program, Madeline Fields, who made good in a DeMille picture when I failed to recognize Miss Lombard's talents. Miss Fields has also made good as Carole's personal business manager and best friend. To Miss Lombard, she's Fieldsy. Obviously, Fieldsy, you and Miss Lombard have never allowed business to interfere with friendship.
We settled that a long time ago, Mr. DeMille, by a very simple agreement. Carole can never write a check, and I can never sign one. It's strictly a collaboration.
Are you also in collaboration on that new home Carole's going to build out in the San Fernando Valley?
No, that's going to be entirely a Lombard production. She's designing it herself. A nice, rambling farmhouse. 10 acres, chickens, a barn, milk house, smokehouse, and a swell barbecue pit.
Well, tell me confidentially, is Carole off the screen anything like the Irene of our play?
Oh, far from it. Carole always goes around telling people she'd be lost without me. Well, I'm glad she thinks so, but she wouldn't be. She's got those 2 feet of hers planted squarely on the ground. She runs the house, does her own ordering, and a big time to Carole is having in a few friends for an evening of bridge. However, she did give me a real scare when we had that flood a few weeks back. She left bright and early one morning before I awakened and didn't come home until late that afternoon, covered with mud. When I asked her where she'd been, she said, oh, just out. Later, I learned that she'd taken her car, filled it with food and clothes, and rushed out to the flood area to do what she could. Carole's like that.
What can you tell our lady listeners about the Lombard wardrobe?
Well, only that she likes simple clothes, particularly sport things. And if she has a favorite color, it's white. She takes very good care of her clothes, too. Come up to the house sometime, Mr. DeMille, and I'll show you what we think of Lux Flakes. That big blue box is busy every day keeping her things fresh as a daisy.
That's an invitation I won't forget.
And if you want to make an impression, bring a tree.
A tree? Couldn't we compromise on an acorn?
Not very well, Mr. DeMille. Carole, you see, is going to landscape the farm herself, and at the moment, any tree that will help make a good windbreak will be gratefully received.
Now, remember that at Christmas time.
Oh, but I can't wait that long, so from this point on, Carole will have to speak for herself. Thanks for having me.
Good night, Miss Steve.
Very chatty commercials, but also they fit. I mean, Lux paid a lot of money for those commercials. Alrighty, going back 86 years, May 9th, 1938, the Lux Radio Theater. We'll have the conclusion coming up following these important messages. You're listening to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
President Biden recently released a massive $6 trillion budget, the largest budget in U.S. history. And guess who pays the bill? That's right, you, the American taxpayer. American citizens and business owners will be paying more taxes. That's a fact. And if you owe back taxes, they will be coming after you to collect payments. In fact, President Biden also hired thousands more IRS agents to go after you. If you got a letter from the IRS and you know you owe back taxes or you haven't filed in years, don't put your head in the sand. Call us today. We've saved our customers millions of tax dollars. One quick, free phone call will show you how we can reduce your past tax bill and save you thousands. Guaranteed, or you pay nothing. Call now.
800-932-1431. 800-932-1431. That's 800-932-1431. Paid for by the Tax Helpline.
Thanks for being with us here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And now the conclusion of the Lux Radio Theater presentation of My Man Godfrey, starring William Powell, Carole Lombard. I shouldn't be introducing this. Just say that it's from 86 years ago, May 9th, 1938, because, see, I'm stepping on the Union Busters line. Here is Cecil B. DeMille.
Powell and Carole Lombard continue in My Man Godfrey with Gail Patrick, Misha Rao, and David Niven. It's the following afternoon. In the Bullock living room, Carlo strums idly on the piano, while Mrs. Bullock and Cornelia listen inattentively. Mr. Bullock, entering from the hall, surveys the scene gloomily.
Shut up.
What?
What did you say?
I told him to shut up.
Well, I never.
And you can shut up with him. And you too, Cornelia.
I didn't open my mouth.
Well, don't. Listen, and listen carefully, because it hurts me to repeat it. The Bullocks are broke.
What?
I am broke, you are broke, she is broke, and we're all broke. Not only that, but I've been using the company's money for the last month to speculate with. And I've lost. Do you hear that? I've lost. That means I'm an embezzler. Unless I get hold of a wad of money by the first of the month, I'm going to jail. Now, isn't that an interesting story?
Well, I certainly think it was very foolish of you.
You had no right to do it.
An embezzler. And to think that I've been a guest in your house. Is there nothing left?
Not a cent.
Ah, your food and drink have turned to dirt in my mouth.
What? That settles it. Carlo, will you step into the hall for a moment?
What for?
Well, I want to speak to you as man to man.
You have found a way out?
Yes, for one of us anyhow. This way, Carlo.
Excuse me, please. Well?
Alexander! What are you doing out there? Alexander! Cornelia, what are they doing? Alexander, come here. Come here. What did you say to Carlo?
I said goodbye.
Did he go?
Oh, yes, he left very hurriedly by the side window.
Alexander, you're cruel.
Did I hear something fall, sir?
Yes, you did.
Godfrey, come here. Carlo is gone.
Is he?
You don't even seem surprised.
I think I've been expecting it. We all have to go, sooner or later.
Yes, that's true, isn't it? You're so smart, Godfrey. Maybe you can tell me why Mr. Bullock has to go to jail.
Mother.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Bullock doesn't have to go to jail.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, no, sir. You see, I've known for some time, sir, the Bullock interests were in rather a bad way.
How did you know that?
Oh, I follow the market a bit. So I took the liberty of dabbling in some stock on my own account. Here, sir.
Well, what's this?
That is most of your stock. I knew it was being dumped on the market, so I sold short.
Short? You mean gentlemen?
Wait a minute. Do you mean that you've been making money when I was losing it?
I did it in your interest, sir. I felt I owed your family a debt. I hope I've repaid it. And I may add, some of the money went into a project of my own. I hope you won't mind, sir.
But you did all that on $150 a month?
Well, hardly. You see, with the aid of Tommy Gray and Miss Cornelia's pearls... Here, Miss Cornelia.
Oh, Godfrey. Then you did steal them after all.
Well, I
put the pearls under Godfrey's mattress.
Thank you, Miss Cornelia. I wanted you to say that.
Here, Godfrey. These pearls are rightfully yours.
Oh, no, thank you. I've repaid my debt, and I'm grateful to all of you.
If anyone's indebted, we are. After the way some of us have treated you.
Oh, I've been repaid in many ways. I learned patience from Mr. Bullock. I found Mrs. Bullock at all times, shall we say, amusing.
That's very complimentary of you, Godfrey.
What good did you find in me, if any?
A great deal. You taught me the fallacy of false pride. You taught me humility.
I don't understand you.
Miss Cornelia, there have been other spoiled children in the world. I happen to be one of them myself. You're a high-spirited girl. I only hope that you'll use those high spirits in a more constructive way. And so, goodbye.
Oh, dear.
There goes a great guy.
Hello.
Hello, Irene.
What's the matter?
Nothing.
What's the matter with her, Cornelia?
I don't know.
What's the matter with everybody? What's everybody crying about?
Godfrey's gone.
Gone. Gone where?
He didn't say.
Well, why didn't you stop him? Why didn't you hold him?
We
here?
couldn't.
Well, he's not going to get away from me.
Where are you going?
To the city dump.
Well, this is it, Tommy. Tramp Inn, we call it. A palace of pleasure built on a foundation of tin cans and ashes. How do you like it?
Just a minute, Godfrey. Is this where my money went? Into a nightclub?
Some of yours, all of mine. Come into my office.
By the way, now, what happens to the profits from this place?
Well, we're giving food and shelter to 50 people in the winter and giving them employment in the summer. What more do you want?
Nothing. But you're the most peculiar butler that I've ever met.
Ex-butler.
Fired?
No, I quit. I felt that foolish feeling coming on again.
Well, you mean Irene? Why don't you marry her?
Oh, no, thank you. Being her butler was tough enough.
Well, here, hello.
Well, Godfrey, you have company.
Irene, what are you doing here?
Yes, what are you doing here? Don't let him off the hook, Irene.
I won't.
So long, Godfrey.
Oh, my, how you fixed this place up, Godfrey. It's much nicer than when I was here before.
Oh, you noticed that?
Are the Forgotten Men having a party?
Yes, it's their annual reunion.
Well, I saw the mayor out there. Is he one of them, too?
Yeah, he's the guest of honor.
Oh, it's a lovely view, the bridge and everything. Is the bridge always there?
Most always.
Oh, you have a kitchen. You know I'm going to like this place. Oh, what's over here? Oh, is this where you sleep?
That's the general purpose of the room.
Oh.
Any observations?
I think it's very cute, but we'll have to change the wallpaper.
What do you mean we'll have to change the wallpaper?
Oh, I don't like green wallpaper. It makes me bilious.
Well, you won't have to look at it. You're going home right now.
But I can't go home. I can't, Godfrey.
Now, Irene, see here. You simply...
Oh, go and lose your temper. I love it when you lose your temper.
Why can't you let me alone?
Because you're my responsibility, and someone has to take care of you.
I can take care of myself.
You can't look me in the eye and say that. You love me, you know it. And you know there's no sense in struggling with a thing when it's got you. It's got you, and that's all there is to it. It's got you.
May I come in?
Oh, Mayor Cortland.
Mr. Gray said there were a couple of people in here who wanted to get married. Are you it?
Yes, we're it, Mayor Cortland.
Irene.
Well, can you marry us without a license?
Without a license? Well, it may get me into a lot of trouble, but I guess I've known your family long enough to take a chance. Does your father know about this?
Well, everybody knows about it except Godfrey. Come on, Godfrey, we're all set.
Join hands, please.
No, wait. Listen, Irene, we can't do it. You simply can't.
Shh, just stand still, Godfrey. It'll all be over in a minute.
Oh.
So ends My Man Godfrey. In a few moments, Melville Ruick brings you the important announcement referred to earlier tonight. And now, before William Powell, Carole Lombard, and Gail Patrick return for a curtain call, we hear from Mr. Eric Hatch, author of My Man Godfrey and the screen version of Tapa. Tonight's story was turned down by nearly every studio in Hollywood. Finally produced by Universal, it became the first of the current cycle of comedy romances. It's also unique in that it was shot off the cuff, a Hollywood term which perhaps you'll explain to our audience, Mr. Hatch.
Well, shooting off the cuff, ladies and gentlemen, is shooting without benefit of the usual prepared script or scenario. The lines are made up on the set as the action progresses. The most eminent disciple of this system is Mr. Gregory LaCava, the terrific director with whom I was fortunate to work on My Man Godfrey. For 3 months before the actual shooting of the film, Greg and I accumulated 200 pages of rough notes and dialogue. These unassorted notes constituted all the script we had.
I've heard it said, Mr. Hatch, that the characters in My Man Godfrey were taken from life. Is that true?
Well, the only one taken from life was Mr. Bullock. I patterned him after a friend of mine, a banker. Lots of people have confided that they know exactly who he is, but oddly enough, no two persons have named the same man.
As one of those responsible for the current deluge of so-called crazy comedies, how long do you think their popularity is going to last?
Well, this may sound strange, Mr. DeMille, but Godfrey to me was never a crazy picture. Godfrey was a pretty serious man. And comedy, in my opinion, must have a certain serious touch if it's going to amount to anything. If the men who produce pictures happen to agree with me, then I believe this so-called trend will last indefinitely. You've done a great job with Godfrey tonight, and to Mr. Powell, Miss Lombard, and all the others who participated, my sincerest gratitude.
Thank you, Mr. Hatch. And here, ladies and gentlemen, are William Powell, Carole Lombard, and Gail Patrick. And I'd like to know, Carole, what's all this talk about you and a farm? I can't quite picture the glamorous Lombard hoeing the potato patch.
Well, in the first place...
Yes, and Fieldsy said something about a smokehouse. You mean every time you want to light a cigarette, you've got to...
But, Gail, you don't understand. Now, a smoke...
Carole, are you going to have chickens?
Yes.
What kind are you going to raise? Jersey, Holstein, or Guernsey?
Well, whatever best, Father. Probably Holstein chickens.
Oh, splendid. What about some nice Plymouth Rock cows?
Look, I admit I don't know anything about farming, and I don't care what people think. I think it's a swell idea. What's more, I'm studying farming, and I'm taking a correspondence course from the University of California.
Carole, when you write for your next lesson, I wish you'd ask those college professors a question that's been puzzling me for some time.
So tell me you're turning farmer, too, Bill.
Oh, no. My question has nothing to do with farming, Gail. What I'd like to know is this. Now, in our play, Godfrey marries Irene.
Yes.
Now, do they or do they not live happily ever after? Does he change her? Does she change him? Or do they both stay as they are to make a go of it?
As the celebrated detective of the Thin Man films, what's your own deduction, Bill?
An absolute zero. I don't know.
Well, there's one way of finding out.
What's that, C.B.?
Make another picture. Let's ask our audience right now to drop a line to the Lux Radio Theater telling us whether they'd like to see more of Godfrey and Irene as Mr. and Mrs. Godfrey. If the answer is yes, I feel pretty certain that those letters will help bring another Godfrey film to the screen.
A grand idea, Mr. DeMille, and I hope you get lots of letters. And good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Carole. Good night, Gail. Good night, Gail.
In a moment, Mr. DeMille returns with news of next Monday's show. Now comes the announcement I told you about earlier. Well, we certainly started something 2 weeks ago when we repeated our remarkable teaspoon offer. We have literally been swamped with requests, but we want to make good our promise of giving everybody a chance to get in on our souvenir offer. A half-dozen extremely beautiful and serviceable, full-sized, original Rogers silver plate teaspoons, which, as you know, are guaranteed by the International Silver Company, the world's largest silversmith. To show you the kind of receptions the spoons are meeting with the country over, I want you to hear a few excerpts from typical letters that women are writing to us. Miss Mary Toomey of 25 Revere Street, Bridgeport, Connecticut, writes,
"They are very beautiful, and I like the first 6 so well, I sent for another and showed them to my friends, who also sent for some."
And Mrs. Alder Nord at 511 Lakeview Avenue, Jamestown, New York, says,
I received my spoons today and want to tell you how pleased I am with them. They're perfectly lovely and worth so much more than I paid for them.
Truly, these spoons are very attractive and such a bargain. They have an extra heavy deposit of pure silver reinforced plate on the part most often exposed to wear, and they are guaranteed in writing by the International Silver Company, the world's largest silversmith. Just let me read one sentence from the guarantee you will receive with your spoons. Every piece is guaranteed to give satisfaction in family use and will be replaced without charge at any time it doesn't conform to this guarantee. It is not hard to understand the enthusiasm of those who receive these spoons when you realize that you pay only a little over 8 cents apiece for them. But, of course, they are available only in half-dozen lots, 6 spoons for 50 cents. Now, here is the easy way to get these spoons. Simply send the top from a large package of Lux. Print your name and address clearly on a piece of paper. Wrap 50 cents in coin in the paper, don't send stamps, and mail to Lux, Meriden, Connecticut. This offer is good only in the United States.
Oh, Mr. Ruick, would you mind repeating that address, please?
Not at all, Miss Creighton. Simply send to Lux, Meriden, Connecticut.
Oh, I have it now. Lux, Meriden, 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 Connecticut.
I am sure that you will agree, once you have seen the spoons, that never before have you gotten a bargain like this. Of course, there is no advertising on the spoons in any way whatever, and they are not to be confused with inexpensive ordinary spoons. They are the kind of spoons that you buy carefully and thoughtfully, the sort of spoons that you intend to keep a lifetime. You really have to see these teaspoons to fully appreciate them. Be sure and mail your request promptly. You can have as many half-dozens as you want, but for each half-dozen spoons, send the top from a large-sized package of Lux and 50 cents in coin. Print your name and address clearly on a piece of paper, wrap the coin in the paper, and then mail to Lux, Meriden, 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 Connecticut, and you will receive your spoons promptly, postpaid. This offer is good only in the United States. And now, Mr. DeMille.
Park Avenue and 10th Avenue never meet in New York, but they cross next Monday night in the Lux Radio Theater when we bring you a romance successful on stage and screen, The Girl from 10th Avenue. In the title role, you'll hear the charming Loretta Young, and co-starred the popular George Brent. Our sponsors, the makers of Lux Flakes, join me in inviting you to be with us again next Monday night when the Lux Radio Theater presents Loretta Young and George Brent in The Girl from 10th Avenue. This is Cecil B. DeMille saying good night to you from Hollywood.
Gail Patrick is from Paramount Studios, Misha Auer from New Universal, and David Niven from Samuel Goldwyn Productions. Louis Silvers appeared through courtesy of 20th Century Fox Studios, where he directed music for Kentucky Moonshine. Our stars were assisted tonight by Wallace Clark as Mr. Alexander Bullock, Elvia Allman as Angelica Bullock, Inez Seabury as Molly, Edwin Max as Mr. Guthrie, Frank Nelson as George, Lou Merrill as the detective, David Kerman as Clarence, Eddie Kane as Mayor Cortland, and Ernie Adams as a waiter. Heard on tonight's performance were Manhattan Serenade by Louis Alter and Just Let Me Look at You from Joy of Living. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
I find the comments of the author there, Charles Rogers, fascinating. Could you imagine today a major Hollywood studio making a film off the cuff? In other words, the whole thing shot just with notes? I couldn't imagine that happening. And yet, the show did win critical acclaim. It was hilarious. And in fact, that version of My Man Godfrey was deemed culturally significant by the Library of Congress back in '99 and selected for preservation in the National Film Registry. By the way, you heard in that adaptation, you heard David Niven. Niven would go on to be in the remake of My Man Godfrey in 1957 with June Allison, and of course David Niven playing Godfrey. Now, Carole Lombard, a well-known actress in her day, 23rd on the American Film Institute's list of the greatest female stars of classic Hollywood cinema. Sadly, she was killed in a plane crash aboard TWA Flight 3 while returning from a war bond tour in 1942. She was just 33 years of age. And it was so sad that when it was learned of her passing, the great Jack Benny decided he wasn't going to do a radio show that night. And that was sad. By the way, Powell and Carole Lombard, William Powell, they were married. And they had been married 3 years prior to the making of My Man Godfrey. They had divorced. But he was nominated for Academy Awards 3 times, Best Actor for The Thin Man in 1934, My Man Godfrey, and Life with Father in 1947. He did have himself a great career. Born in Pittsburgh, he enrolled after high school at the University of Kansas to study law, but after a week, he went to New York City, attending the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and he had a wonderful career. He passed away in 1984 in Palm Springs at the age of 91. A couple of notes of a couple of other actors that you heard here who were also in the original. Misha Auer, that you heard talk about, long reign in Hollywood. He acted from the early 1900s all the way till 1967. In fact, he was in a role just before his passing in 1967 in the motion picture, which wasn't a big one. It was Per Amor, Per Magia, a musical romantic comedy fantasy film. And he would pass away in 1967 at the age of 61 in Rome. He actually was Russian, and Jewish Russian. And I find it interesting looking at some of these big actors that were playing on the radio as well. But then that's because Lux Radio Theater paid a lot of money at the time to do all of this. He did get an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor for his role here in this. And you also heard the mention of Gail Patrick. Gail Patrick was a fine actress. She was in more than 60 films between 1932 and 1948. My Man Godfrey, Stage Door, My Favorite Wife. But she became, as Gail Patrick Jackson, president of Paisano Productions. And she was the executive producer of the Perry Mason TV series. One of the first female producers and the only female executive producer in prime time during the 9 years Perry Mason was on the air. So a lot of people in this preceding hour of radio who were not only fine performers in their own right, but actually did a lot of work, a lot of great work. My Man Godfrey from the Lux Radio Theater, 86 years ago, May 9th, 1938, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Another classic coming up here in a moment, Harold Peary in an early episode of The Great Gildersleeve from 81 years ago.
In a few seconds, faces and places in the news. But first, a reminder that the second war loan drive is now underway. This is a concern of all the people. $13 billion is a lot of money. It must be raised, and soon. Some of that money has to be yours. Buy an extra war bond every payday.
And from right around that time in World War II, from 81 years ago, May 9th, 1943, we hear Harold Peary in an episode he brought out most, starting off in Fibber McGee and Molly and ending in around 1950 with Harold Peary as the Great Gildersleeve.
Kraft presents the Great Gildersleeve. The Kraft Cheese Company will also bring you Bing Crosby every Thursday night. Present each week at this time Harold Peary as the Great Gildersleeve, written by John Whedon and Sam Moore. We'll hear from the Great Gildersleeve in just a moment. But first, a few homemakers listening in are on the lookout for foods that are low in red ration point costs and yet high in food value. Let me suggest Parquet, the delicious, nourishing margarine made by Kraft. For Parquet costs just 5 red ration points per pound. It's one of the very best energy foods you can serve. And, of course, Parquet is an excellent year-round source of vitamin A. It's mighty important, too, that Parquet margarine has a delicate, appetizing flavor that'll perk up family appetites in many ways. Yes, Parquet is a wonderfully good-tasting spread for bread and toast and piping hot rolls, and a fine seasoning for hot-cooked vegetables. What's more, it's a real flavor shortening for your home baking, and it's grand for pan frying, too. So for outstanding flavor, for good nutrition, and for point value and cash economy, ask your dealer tomorrow for Parquet, P-A-R-K-A-Y. Parquet margarine made by Kraft. Just 5 red ration points per pound. Well, it's the second week in May, and May is when Summerfield really comes into bloom. But while others take their ease, Summerfield's fighting water commissioner girds himself for a Saturday morning of busy accomplishment at the office.
Gotta be going. Let's see. Briefcase, I've got it. Handkerchief in my pocket. Hat on my head. Goodbye, Bertie.
Bye, Miss Gildersleeve.
One side there, Leroy.
So long, Unc. Don't let anybody put anything over on you.
When did anybody ever put anything over on me?
Are you kidding?
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Yes, Bertie.
Are you going to be home for lunch today?
No, Bertie, I'm afraid not. Busy day ahead. Will that upset your plans?
Oh, no, so that means we can have a 16-point dinner.
Yeah. Leroy, you know something?
What, Unc?
I do believe this grass is getting long enough to mow.
Oh, now, Unc.
Get the jump on it, my boy. It's the only way. Never let it get ahead of you.
Gosh, you're liable to stunt its growth if you cut it now.
Yes. Just once over lightly with a lawnmower, Leroy. It won't do the grass a bit of harm. It'll do you a lot of good. I'd mow it myself if I weren't so busy.
Yeah. Throckmorton. Hi, Mrs. Ransom.
Oh, hello, Leila. Leroy, stick in your shirt tail. You look disgusting.
Throckmorton, you're not leaving.
Yes, I was. I was just on my way to the office, Leila. Busy day.
But what about your promise?
Promise?
You were going to go over the list of wedding invitations with me, who we were going to send them to and all.
Oh, so I was. Well, I'll tell you what, Leila. You just decide. Anything you decide's all right with me.
But aren't you interested in who comes to our wedding, Throckmorton?
Why, of course, Leila. I'm very interested. It's just that I've got a lot of important things to do down at the office.
Is anything more important than our wedding? Watch it, Unc. It's a booby trap.
Leroy, I think we can dispense with your presence now.
Yes, run along, Leroy, and play with some of your little friends. What a character. Now come and sit down on the porch with me, Throckmorton. It won't take long.
Yes, but Leila...
You've been putting it off, but we've just got to tend to it now. We've got to order the invitations, and engraving takes time. Sit down beside me.
I don't know anything about these things, Leila.
Well, I've made up a sort of a tentative list here. Now, first there's my great-aunt Elizabeth.
Oh, before I forget it, put down the McGees, Fibber and Molly. Want to be sure to have them.
Well, let's discuss that later. We can't just invite everybody, you know. It's a small church.
Well, Fibber McGee is a small man.
Well, we'll get to them. But my great-aunt Elizabeth, we've got to invite her because when Beauregard and I were married, she sent us a chafing dish.
We can't use more than one chafing dish.
Oh, silly. And there's George William Hungerford. He's a sort of a cousin of Beauregard's. You know, it was the most awful thing. Beauregard and I never thought to invite George William, and he sent us a dozen hand-painted service plates with pheasants on them. I know Beauregard would never forgive me if I didn't invite him this time.
Well, we want Beauregard to rest easy. Send George William a pass.
Well, then there's Aunt Ellen, Uncle Chase, and I thought I'd kind of like to invite poor little old Darwin Shaw. Well, aren't you going to ask me about Darwin?
What about Darwin?
Well, poor Darwin. He was terribly in love with me at the time I got engaged to Beauregard. There was a sort of a misunderstanding, and somehow he got the idea that I was engaged to him. Oh, it was terribly embarrassing. He threatened to shoot himself if I married anybody else, but he didn't. He's in real estate.
And still hasn't shot himself?
Oh, no, he's doing real well, they tell me. But he's never married. I thought it would be nice if we invited him.
Oh, yeah, invite him and tell him to bring his six-shooter, Leila.
And then, of course, we've got to invite Beauregard's mother.
Listen, Beauregard had his wedding. What about my friends, Leila? I have a few friends, you know.
Of course
course, Throckmorton. That's why I wanted you to go over the list with me. Now, who would you like to invite?
Well, there's Fibber McGee and Molly.
Yes, you mentioned them. Who else?
The McGees live next door to me, on Wistful Vista.
Yes, I know. Who else, Throckmorton?
McGee. Well, there's the McGees. I can't give you the whole list now, Leila. Look, it's late. I've got to get down to the office. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go over the whole thing with you this afternoon.
Well, do you promise?
Promise.
Cross your heart?
Cross my heart. I'd do it right now, but I've got a million things on my mind.
Throckmorton?
Yes, Leila?
Aren't you forgetting something?
My briefcase.
Oh, no. Not your briefcase.
No? What then?
Well, I never had to remind Beauregard when he went off to the office.
Oh. Goodbye, honey.
That's better.
Beauregard. Let's see now. Hardly know where to begin here. Oh, here's a letter. Dear Mr. Gildersleeve, it has recently come to our attention that you're about to embark upon the happy venture of matrimony. Allow us to be the first to congratulate you on this important step in life. Well, have to send them an invitation. As a man of foresight, we know that you will want to look to the future, and when the time comes that we may supply you, what is this? Faithfully yours, Summerfield Diety Service. Oh. What else have we got here? Here's another one. Dear Mr. Gildersleeve, you call yourself a water commissioner? Oh, my goodness.
All right, Gildy, we're closing up here now. Come on.
Oh, hello, Judge. Dr. Pettibone. How are you, Doc?
Get your hat, Gildersleeve. You're coming with us.
What do you mean?
Have you forgotten what day this is?
No, it's Saturday.
Well, it's also opening day at the club.
By George, so it is, Horace. Opening day.
Come on, we got our golf clubs in the car. We'll stop the house, pick up yours. Pals will meet us out at the club.
Oh, gee, I'd like to, fellas, but I can't. Not today.
What do you mean you can't?
Sure, they can't open the golf season without us, the old foursome. You know that.
I know, fellas, but you better just go along without me.
Oh, nonsense. You want to get out on that old course and get some fresh air.
Doctor's orders, Gildy.
Gosh, I'd like to, but I can't. I've got important things to do.
What have you got to do that's so important?
Well, things. Besides, I promised.
Promised who?
Leila.
Uh-oh.
I promised her I'd help her with a list of invitations for the wedding.
Gildersleeve, don't tell me she's got you tied to her apron strings already.
I guess we know who's going to wear the slacks in that family.
No, see here, Hooker.
Alas, poor Gildersleeve. I knew him well. Another good man gone wrong. Well, come on, Judge. I guess we'll just have to find somebody else.
I'm sorry, Gildy, old man. We're going to miss you out there. Lovely day, too.
Well, gee, I'd like to, fellows.
You know that dog-leg hole you always had trouble with? Well, they straightened it out now. They say you can drive the green in one if you're lucky. I only mention it in passing.
Now, don't urge him, Doc. Don't urge him. Maybe Gildy's doing the wise thing. After all, he's getting on in years.
Who is?
Perhaps he knows best. If he's reached the time of life when he feels he ought to settle down and just spend his declining years puttering around the house, I think we should let him.
Listen, you old goat, I'll give you 2 strokes a hole and beat the pants off of you.
Well, come on, then. What are we waiting for?
Well, boys, all even up to the 18th green. Pretty close match, I'd say.
Yeah, if it hadn't been for Gildersleeve's hole-in-one, we'd have beat you long ago. Lucky stiff.
Yeah, don't call it luck, Judgy. I was just trying to make a hole-in-one, you know.
Would you mind not laughing when I'm about to putt, Gildersleeve?
Sorry, Powers. Go right ahead.
Thank you.
That's a beauty, partner. You're surely down in 5.
Never mind the gab, Judge. Go ahead and shoot.
I'll shoot, all right. It's a very difficult putt.
Nothing to it, Judgy. Just relax. That's the secret.
Gildersleeve, if you don't behave, I won't print your hole-in-one on the paper.
All right, Powers. You can't take a little joke. Shoot, Judge.
Good shot, Hooker. You're sure of a 5 yourself. Go ahead, Pettibone.
Thank you. Say, it almost went in.
Concede your 5, Doc.
Thanks.
Looks like we'll have to play some extra holes.
Not if I sink my putt, Judge. If I sink this, we win.
Oh, don't be silly. That's an 18-footer.
If I can sink him from 120 yards, I can sink him from 18 feet. Every shot a little gem, fellas. Stand back, everybody. Quiet.
Nobody's making a sound.
I want it quiet anyway. Now, watch this.
Gildersleeve, don't get fancy. This is no time to try a one-handed putt.
Oh, that's one of my specialties, Doc. Look, every shot, a little gem. Yeah. Pay off, boys. Pay off. Nice hot shower. That's the best part of the game. We were sailing along
on a moonlight bay.
Oh, that's terrible.
Cheer up, Judge. It'll be your turn to win someday.
That's right, Judge. Next time I'll be your partner.
Of all the luck. Oh, forget it, Powers. Come on, let's sing.
Yeah. We were sailing along on a moonlight bay. We could hear the voices singing. They seem to say. You have stolen my heart. Now don't go away. As we sang Love's old sweet song on moonlight day.
Not so bad.
Well, it was fine except for you, Judge. I think your throat is burned out of bearing.
That reminds me, the Cokes are on the winners.
Huh?
Oh, Eddie, Phil, where are those doggone boys?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Eddie, get the drinks ready and give Mr. Gildersleeve the check.
Yes, sir.
Well, fellas, here comes the old cold finish. Hang on to your hats now, boys. Give me a towel, somebody.
Gildersleeve, I can see you've put on a little weight.
Huh?
What's more, I can see where you've put it.
Well, you're my doctor, Pettibone. If I'm overweight, it's your fault.
Oh, nonsense. All you need's a little more exercise.
That's easier said than done, Pettibone. His lady friend doesn't like to let him go out afternoons, you know.
That's not true. My time is absolutely my own.
Well, I was going to ask you, could you play in our poker game tonight?
Oh, no. He's got to spend the evening choosing his wedding guests.
Oh, is that so?
Maybe that's his idea of a good time. Now, Throckmorton, should we invite Auntie Grace and Uncle Henry?
Hey.
Whatever you say, dear.
No, cut it out, Pettibone.
The wedding just won't be a wedding unless we invite Cousin Percival.
Hooker, I'm warning you.
I can't stand Cousin Percival.
Powers, would you care to step outside?
I can't, you darn fool. I haven't got any clothes on.
Oh. Well, then cancel my subscription to your newspaper. Today.
Don't you want to read about your hole-in-one?
Cancel it tomorrow.
Now, boys. Eddie, where are those coats? Eddie!
Coming, Judge.
Well, what about this poker game, Gildersleeve?
Gentlemen, I'm at your service. And I'll show you that in poker as in golf, Lady Luck sits on the shoulder of the best player.
Oh, for the love of...
He's just jealous, that's all.
Locker room. Just a minute. You, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Oh, thank you, Eddie. Some gentleman calling me?
Gentlemen? No, sir. No, indeedy. Step up and tell her you're going to play poker tonight, Gildy.
Let's hear you put her in her place, Throckmorton.
Remember, Gildersleeve, never ask a woman. Tell her.
Yeah, I know. I'll tell her. Hello? Hello, Leila. Yes, I decided I'd play a little The doctor said I needed some exercise. Fellas, please. But Leila, I didn't understand it was definite for this afternoon. But I thought if I...
This program comes to you by electrical transcription.
But Leila...
Tell her about the poker.
Oh, Leila, we'll cut that out, Powers. What was that, Leila? Oh, Leila, don't say that. Don't cry, Leila. I've got good news for you. Yeah, I made a hole-in-one.
We were sailing along.
Quiet, fellas. But Leila. Please, fellas. But Leila. Oh, shut up. Quiet. Not you, Leila. Leila. Now, look what you did. My girl hung up on me.
The Great Gildersleeve will be with us again in a few seconds. Meanwhile, along with the suggestion that planning family menus in advance will save you points and money, I have another thought that may prove useful. Shop early in the week if you possibly can, and early in the day. That'll help your dealer, and it'll help you, too. He'll be more likely to have on hand the foods you've planned to buy, the outstanding red stamp values like Parquet, the delicious, nourishing margarine made by Kraft. It's worth shopping early to buy Parquet. For just 5 red ration points a pound, you buy a grand-tasting spread for bread that's equally fine for many other uses. You'll find it an appetizing seasoning for hot vegetables, a real flavor shortening for baking, and it's just about perfect for pan frying. Now, if it happens that your dealer doesn't have Parquet margarine the first time you ask for it, it's because of wartime shortages and Parquet's growing popularity. But Kraft is doing everything possible to keep dealers supplied. So ask for the vitamin A fortified energy food Parquet, Parkay. Parquet margarine made by Kraft. Now, returning to the Great Gildersleeve, we find him glumly finishing up his supper with Leroy, while Marjorie, dressed to go out, sits waiting impatiently for her boyfriend, Ben.
Mr. Gildersleeve, I hate to see you peck at your food like this. I ain't seen you eat such a light supper since the day you took Leroy to the circus.
Well, I can't help it, Bertie. Marjorie, don't you want something to eat? A little celery?
No, thank you. I'm mad now, and I'll just wait for Ben if I starve to death. Oh, where are you going, anyhow? We were supposed to go to Bishop's Chop House for dinner, but we're so late now we'll never get a table. So we'll stand there for an hour, and by that time the meat will be gone, and by the time we've finished our chicken a la king, we'll be too late for the first show at the Majestic, so we'll stand in line there for an hour.
Well, the guy's probably run out of gas again.
I wouldn't be at all surprised.
Now, don't be too hard on the boy, my dear. He probably didn't mean to be late.
Oh, you men always stand up for each other.
Now, Ben's a nice boy, but I don't think you ought to mope over him.
No, fair one, do not pine for Benjamin.
Oh, for goodness sake.
There is another who could love thee truly till death do us part. Kiss me.
Oh, stop it, Leroy.
Let me take you in my arms. Let me fold you to my bosom. Let me...
Leroy, stop that dribble.
Oh, gee, I was just trying to cheer things up a little. You and Marge are so lovesick, it's terrible.
I am not
Neither
lovesick.
am I.
Mr. Gildersleeve, could I interest you in a little dessert? It's chocolate pudding with vitamins B, D, and G.
Chocolate pudding? Bertie, we've been having chocolate pudding all the time lately.
Well, Mr. Gildersleeve, we ain't had chocolate pudding since a week ago Tuesday. And I believe that was raspberry.
Huh? Give both helpings to Leroy, Bertie. I'm not myself this evening.
Not by a plateful. I'll go, Mr. Gildersleeve.
Well, there he is. 45 minutes late.
Good evening, Mr. Ben.
Oh, good evening, Bertie. Hello, Marjorie. Mr. Gildersleeve.
Hello, Ben.
Leroy.
Oh, Ben.
Well, good evening.
Ben, you didn't by any chance run out of gas, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Bingo!
Leroy.
Yeah, but that wasn't the reason I...
Ben Waterford, you make me so mad I could spit.
But gosh,
Here we are an hour late, and we'll miss dinner, and we'll miss the show.
But Marjorie...
Now you can wait for me for a change. I'm going upstairs and change my dress.
Gosh.
Ben, my boy, they're all alike.
Well, Mr. Gildersleeve, if all the women act like that, all the men must be crazy.
They are.
We are crazy, we are crazy, we are nuts, oh, we are nuts. Happy little morons, happy little morons.
Leroy, that will do. You may leave the room, young man.
I want to hear you and Ben discuss dames.
Young man, go instantly.
Okay, what a character.
What was that?
Nothing at all.
He's a great kid.
He's a pain in the neck.
Well, that too. Gee, suppose Marge is ever coming down?
Oh, yes, my boy. Just want you to worry a little.
Well, I am.
When she comes down, there's just one thing to remember, Ben. Never ask a woman. Tell her.
Tell him, huh?
That's the secret.
That sounds like one of those good theories, but you don't know if she'll fly till you get her in the wind tunnel.
Huh? Oh. Yeah. Well, you take an example now, Ben. Take the case of a certain party I know. We'll call him Mr. A. He played golf recently when his fiancée expected him to spend the afternoon at her house.
Was she sore?
Oh, brother.
Well, Ben, have you got enough gas to get us downtown?
Well, sure. I had a gal in the back seat, but that wasn't what made me late.
It wasn't.
No, I was fixing up this little kind of a present for you. I hope you... Oh, here.
Oh, Ben, why didn't you tell me? Oh, I'm so embarrassed.
Gosh, what about me?
Oh, I just can't wait to look at it. Have you got a knife?
Oh, I left it in my other pants. New suit.
Here, Here's my cigar cutter. No good for cigars, but fine for string. Here.
Oh, twin bracelets. Oh, Ben, they're beautiful.
I made them myself. Made them out of piston rings. I polished them on the lathe down at the shop.
I thought they were handcuffs, my boy.
Oh, Uncle Mort.
Huh?
Oh, they're just lovely. Ben, you were so sweet.
Thanks. Well, shall we get started?
Yes, if you've forgiven me.
Forgive you? Oh, gosh.
Well, good night, Uncle Mort.
Good night, my dear. Good night, my boy. Ben.
Yeah?
I think you've solved the problem of Mr. A.
Hello, Mr. Gildersleeve. Kind of thought I'd be seeing you today.
Say, Peavy, you've got to help me out.
Well, that's what we druggists are in business for.
Peavy, have you ever been in a spot where you had to think fast how to please a woman?
Mr. Gildersleeve, I've never been out of it.
Well, I'm in that spot right now, Peavy. I got into a little trouble this afternoon, sort of fell among thieves, and now I've got to go over and face her. I thought maybe if I brought her a little gift of some kind, kind of dazzle her and take her mind off things.
Very difficult to do. Very.
Yeah, it is, huh? You don't think she'd accept a gift?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. She'll accept your gift, all right, but then she'll get right back to the point.
Oh, I see.
Unless you happen to hit upon some particular weakness.
Weakness? How do you find that?
Well, the only way I know is trial and error. Now, in my own case, I was fortunate.
Oh?
I discovered Mrs. Peavy's weakness early.
Oh, what is her weakness? Maybe it would give me a clue.
Well, sir, I remember it was Atlantic City on our honeymoon. We were staying at the Breakers. Mrs. Peavy came into a small sum of money just before we were married, so we stayed there overnight.
Yeah. Oh, well, go on, Peavy.
Quite an establishment, the Breakers. Quite an establishment. I remember John Philip Sousa was opening at the Steel Pier that same weekend, and we...
You've told me about that, Peavy. Get to the point, will you? What was it you discovered about Mrs. Peavy?
Well, it's a funny thing. That woman has a positive mania for saltwater taffy.
Yes. Taffy?
Saltwater taffy. I bought her a 2-pound box there on the boardwalk, and I never heard another word out of her the whole trip. Of course, saltwater taffy is pretty sticky stuff.
Yes. Peavy, you've just given me an idea.
What's that?
Have you got any saltwater taffy?
No, Mr. Gildersleeve, I haven't. I'm sorry.
Then what's the use of telling me all this? Peavy, you can waste more time than any living mortal I know.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I haven't any saltwater taffy, but I'll tell you what I have got.
Yeah, what?
Some nice assorted chocolates. And they're hard to get these days.
Just the thing. Wrap it up, Peavy.
I have them already wrapped. It saves time.
Oh.
That'll be $1.63.
Okay, here.
Oh, Mr. Gildersleeve, there's just one thing. Perhaps I should have thought of it before.
Yeah, what was that?
The selection of chocolates you have there contains rather a large proportion of chewy pieces.
Well, that's all right. What about it?
Merely a precaution. You don't mind if I ask rather a personal question?
Go ahead, Peavy. You're a druggist.
About the lady in question. Are her teeth, shall we say, her own?
I've never asked her, Peavy, but I have every reason to believe that they are. Good day.
Good day, Mr. Gildersleeve, and good luck.
We were sailing along on Moonlight Bay. We could hear the voices singing. They seemed to say,
Well,
you have stolen my... Don't go away.
Mr. Gildersleeve, will you kindly take your foot out of my dog?
Leila, let me explain. You didn't give me a chance this afternoon. You see, this thing came up.
I have heard all the explanation I care to, Throckmorton. I am not interested in any explanations that come from locker rooms.
Leila, I've been a foolish boy, and I'm sorry. I've come to ask your forgiveness.
Well, there are some things a woman just can't forgive, Throckmorton. And one of them is when a person says he'll go over an invitation list with her, and then he doesn't.
But, Leila, wait a minute. Look, I brought you a present.
Present?
Uh-huh. All for you.
Well, you can come in, but only for a minute.
Leila, you're an angel. You know, sometimes I think I don't know how lucky I am.
Sometimes I don't think you do either, Throckmorton.
Here, from me to you, with love.
Well, maybe I have been too hard on you.
Sure, a man can make mistakes. Go ahead and open it. After all, we're all human. You wouldn't love me if I weren't human, would you, Leila?
No, I guess not, Throckmorton. Gracious, I'm so excited. I wonder what's in it.
Oh, I'll tell you. It's candy.
Candy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so long since I've had any. Throckmorton, you're a...
Leila, what is it?
Mr. Gildersleeve, you may take your candy and go elsewhere with it.
Huh?
Here.
What's this? What if you're careworn and wrinkled? What if your hair's turned to gray? To me, you'll always be Mother, the dear one we honor today. Oh, Peavy!
You better be lucky tonight. You're all ready to deal out.
Well, hello, boys. Make lots of noise. Deal me in.
Gildersleeve.
Well, I'll be darned.
You're surprised to see me, huh, fellas? I told you I'd be here. Deal me in.
I never thought you'd make it. How'd you get away?
No problem at all. I simply said, Leila, I promised the boys I'd play poker tonight, and I always keep my promises. And she said, all right, dear, just whatever you think best. Good night, everybody.
Music on this program was under the direction of Claude Sweeten. This is Ken Carpenter speaking for the Kraft Cheese Company and inviting you to listen in again next week for the further adventures of the Great Gildersleeve.
Are you puzzled with the main dish problem? Many women are these days. There's not only the money budget to consider, but also a ration stamp budget that can't be replenished with all the money in town. Well, here's one smart purchase that's easy on both budgets. It's Kraft Dinner, the product that gives you delicious macaroni and cheese in just 7 minutes cooking time. Yes, with Kraft Dinner, you get a nourishing main dish for 4 people, an economical main dish in a hurry. And the family will like Kraft Dinner macaroni and cheese. The macaroni is so fluffy light, and the cheese flavor is all through it. You see, each package of Kraft Dinner contains an envelope of Kraft grated along with the special quick-cooking macaroni. You cook the macaroni just 7 minutes in boiling water. With the Kraft grated, you simply sprinkle the cheese goodness through and through the macaroni in a jiffy. Your main dish is ready, a main dish you can repeat time and time again. And here's an exciting part of the news I've been holding back. Kraft Dinner takes only 1 red ration point. Ask your food dealer for Kraft Dinner. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
And from 81 years ago, May 9th, 1943, the Great Gildersleeve here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on this Thursday. Friday's podcast will see episodes of Dragnet, This Is Your FBI, radio's outstanding theater thrill suspense, Bob Bailey as yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and another episode of Claudia. Coming up next, though, we'll head to the grand man of Sunday night, every Sunday at 7, Jack Benny.
Civil defense is common sense. This is Fred McMurray. Home shelters can be built for as little as $100. Simple plans for building inexpensive home shelters are available free from your Civil Defense office. Ask for a copy of the Family Fallout Shelter booklet.
And you can find some of that information over at the website civildefensemuseum.com. That's civildefensemuseum.com. Okay, we all remember Your Money or Your Life. I'm thinking it over. And while it wasn't the grand laugh that we've been led to believe, there were lots of grand laughs had at Jack Benny's expense. And that's what we're going to hear now. An episode of the Jack Benny program from 76 years ago, May 9th, 1948, as Jack has to explain to Ronald Colman where his Oscar is.
The Jack Benny Program, presented by Lucky Strike.
At 57, American.
Lucky Strike, and Lucky Strike alone, offers you important evidence gathered in the tobacco country by the world-famous Crosley poll. This evidence reveals the smoking preference of auctioneers, buyers, and warehousemen, the men who really know tobacco. Here's what the Crosley poll found.
For their own personal smoking enjoyment, independent tobacco experts again name Lucky Strike first choice. Lucky Strike, first choice over any other brand.
These experts know their business. Their overwhelming preference for Lucky Strike, we believe, has a direct relationship to the quality tobacco we purchase for Lucky's and to the real, deep-down smoking enjoyment you may expect from fine tobacco. And when these veteran tobacco experts name Lucky Strike first choice for their own personal smoking enjoyment, then you know.
LSMFT. LSMFT.
Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. And in a cigarette, it's the tobacco that counts. So smoke the smoke tobacco experts smoke Lucky Strike. Remember,
independent tobacco experts again name Lucky Strike first choice. Lucky Strike, first choice over any other brand.
The Lucky Strike program starring Jack Benny with Mary Livingston, Phil Harris, Rochester, Dennis Day, and yours truly, Don Wilson. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we take you out to Jack Benny's house in Beverly Hills, where we find Rochester cleaning out the attic.
Well, I got all the magazines stacked up. Now I'll move this box over and... Hello, what's this? I never saw these before. A bundle of Mr. Benny's old love letters. I wonder if I should... No, I'd be a heel if I read them. But what's the difference? Nobody'll know I'm a heel but me. I ain't gonna tell anybody. I think I'll open this pink one first. Well, look at this. My darling Blossom Boy. I have been thinking of you all day. I still thrill to the memory of how you said goodnight to me and crushed me in your powerful arms. Powerful arms. That can't be the boss. I know how excited you must be about having been elected captain of our school football team. But I can't get over your reluctance to talk about it. You're so modest. Modest? That can't be the boss. We sure had fun celebrating your election at the ice cream parlor, and wasn't it lucky that I had my purse with me when you discovered you forgot your money? That's the boss. Thank you for inviting me to go to the junior prom with you on Friday night, but I'd better meet you on the corner. You see, Daddy is very angry with you, and in a way I don't blame him. I know that business is business, but why did you have to foreclose on our house? And another thing...
Oh, Rochester, when you finish up here in the attic, What are you doing with those old letters?
I'm putting them away.
Rochester, have you been reading my old love letters?
Oh, no, boss, not me.
Well, then put them away and straighten up this pile of books in the corner.
Okay, Blossom Boy.
Oh, so you have been reading them.
Just one of them, boss. The one that signed Eloise.
Eloise. Oh, yes, Eloise Stanley. Rochester, you should have seen her. Long blonde curls, big brown eyes, rosy cheeks. When she smiled, she had the prettiest gold brace you ever saw. 18 karat. Now, come on, let's finish straightening the attic. Now, put that carton on top of the trunk.
Yes, sir. How about putting it... Boss, what are you looking at?
This old picture album. Most of them were taken when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah. Say, who's that man in this picture here? A relative?
No, he was my first violin teacher. May he rest in peace. And oh, look, here's a picture of me taken when I was 2 years old. Look at me lying there in bed, hugging that big teddy bear.
Yeah. Doggone, it's almost as big as the one you sleep with now.
Not quite. And this is my sister Florence.
Who's that on the other page?
Oh, that's my second violin teacher. May he rest in peace. Oh, look, here's a picture of my graduating class in grammar school.
Gee, that's sure a nice-looking bunch of kids. Wait a minute, boss, I don't see you.
Oh, I took the picture. I had a little photography business on the side. And look, here's a picture of our house in Waukegan.
Sure is a nice place. Who's the man standing out in front?
Oh, he's my third violin teacher.
Is he resting in peace?
I don't know. He ran away and joined the Foreign Legion. And Rochester, here's a picture. Oh, that must be some of my gang. We're going to rehearse here today. I'll see you later. There was a boy. They used to call him Blossom Boy. Coming. Oh, hello, Dennis.
Hello, Mr. Benny.
What are you giggling about, kid?
Well, this morning I went out in my yard and caught a gopher.
Why should that make you laugh?
I got him in my shirt and he tickles.
Dennis, you got a gopher inside your shirt?
No, I just said that for a joke. Why didn't you laugh?
A joke?
You've got no sense of humor at all.
Look.
No wonder you've only got one show.
Listen, close the door and come inside, will you?
Am I on time for rehearsal, Mr. Benny?
You're the first one here. I asked you to come a little early on purpose. Did you receive your new contract, Dennis? I mailed it to you last week.
Oh, yes, Mr. Benny, but I didn't like it.
What was wrong?
There was 2 cents due on the postage.
Well, your raise will take care of that.
Oh.
Anyway, I'm glad you received it. Did you sign the contract?
Oh, I was going to, but it hasn't come back from the doctor yet.
What?
My mother knows how you like to hide clauses, so she's having it x-rayed.
Oh, your mother. She's never satisfied with anything.
Oh, you're wrong about that. She liked the present I gave her this morning for Mother's Day.
Say, today is Mother's Day. What'd you give your mother, Dennis?
Oh, something she's always wanted. So I had them made for her. A set of dishes. And every dish is shaped like an L.
Well, why would your mother want all her dishes L-shaped?
When she throws them at my father in case she misses, they come back to her.
L-shaped dishes. That's the silliest thing I ever heard of.
Yeah, she hasn't missed in 20 years.
That I can believe.
What did you get for Mother's Day, Mr. Benny?
Dennis. Why should I get presents on Mother's Day?
It's in our contracts.
Oh, yes.
Gee, I don't know what to get you for Labor Day.
You'll think. You'll think of something, Dennis. Now, Dennis, what song are you going to do on the program this afternoon?
Well, I thought I'd sing I'd Give a Million Tomorrows.
Well, good. Now, run over it once for me before the rest of the gang gets here for rehearsal.
Yes, sir.
I'd give a million tomorrows for just one yesterday. I'd give a million to hold you the same sweet tender way. I know that I'm to blame. I can't tell a lie. I've never been the same since we said goodbye. I'd give up every possession if you come back to stay. I
did you like it, Mr. Benny?
That was fine, Dennis, and it will probably sound even better, when you... Come in! Oh, hello, Mary.
Hello, Jack.
Well, summer must be just around the corner when you come to rehearsal in a bare midriff.
Well, at least it's comfortable.
Yeah, but it must be very inconvenient.
What do you mean inconvenient?
No place to carry a gopher.
Dennis, I still. But Mary, I think those bare midriffs are a little immodest.
Immodest? Why, everybody out here wears them.
Well, my girlfriend Gladys doesn't.
That's not modesty. She doesn't want to show her tattooing.
Tattooing. One little battleship, and you make a thing out of it. The only reason you girls dress like that is to attract attention.
You should talk after what you did at the beach last Thursday. You should have seen him, Dennis.
Oh, Mary, please.
He put on a pair of flame-colored swimming trunks and shaved the hair on his chest to spell out Gorgeous George.
Mary, I was only having a little fun. After all, you can't
Say, boss, hello, Miss Livingston. Hello, Mr. Day.
Hello, Rochester.
What is it, Rochester?
I just finished cleaning the attic and I found your birth certificate.
My birth certificate? Give me that. I'll be back in a minute, Mary. I'm going to put it down in my vault.
Gee, Mr. Benny sure seemed upset about Rochester finding his birth certificate.
Well, Dennis, that's understandable. You see, Mr. Benny is a big star, and people in the public eye must keep their private affairs a secret.
I guess you're right. But how old do you think Mr. Benny is?
I don't know, but when the Pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock, the first words they heard were hello again. Say, Dennis, have you signed your new contract yet?
No, my mother doesn't like some of the clauses, and besides, she thinks it ties me up for too long.
Well, how many years does Jack want you to sign up for?
It doesn't say. The clause just reads, for better, for worse, till death do us part.
What?
I don't know whether to sign it or give him his ring back.
Well, I guess I'd sign it. After all, we do have a very bright future. You have another show, Phil has another show, and when Jack opens his swimming pool for the summer, I have the towel concession. So you see, Dennis, we're really not...
Say, Mary, I happen to look out the window, and there's an express trunk out in front of the Colmans. I wonder what's going on.
Well, Jack, didn't you know Ronnie and Benita are leaving for England tomorrow?
Gee, I didn't know that. So they're going to England, eh?
Yes, and this will be your last chance to go over there and explain to Ronnie what happened to his Oscar.
You're right, Mary. But, gee, I just haven't the courage to face him. Maybe if I... Get that, will you, Mary?
Okay. Hello? Mr. Benny's residence, star stage, screen, and radio. Mary the Towel Girl speaking.
Oh, hello, Liv. What are you doing at Grant's tomb?
Bill, where have you been keeping yourself? I haven't seen you for a couple of days.
Just came in from Salton Sea. I went out there with Guy Lombardo when he tried to break the speedboat record.
Gee, that must have been exciting.
Yeah, it was, Livy. You should have seen Lombardo's boat. It's 25 feet long, and you ought to see that motor.
Really?
Yeah, what a sound when he opened her up. 1,300 horsepower going boom, 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 boom.
Bill, what'd you call for? Do you want to speak to Jack?
Yeah. Is the queen bee in the hive?
Oh, just a second. I'll call him. It's Phil, Jack. He wants to talk to you.
Okay. Hello?
Hiya, Dad. Hey, just called to tell you I'm going to be late for rehearsal.
Late? Why?
Well, Sammy, my drummer, just got married, and he asked me to stand up for him.
Well, I hope you made it. So, Sammy finally got married, huh? Was it a nice wedding?
Yeah, everything went along swell. Except that just 5 minutes ago, Sammy took a punch at Remley because he caught him kissing the bride.
Well, Phil, at a wedding, you're supposed to kiss the bride.
I know, but he caught Remley doing it last night.
Stop switching old jokes, and I hope that they didn't spoil the wedding.
No, everything went off fine. What a classy affair, Jackson. The church was filled with flowers, everybody was dressed beautiful, then suddenly a hush fell on the crowd, and the bride and groom walked slowly down the aisle as the organ plays. That's what I like about the South.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Phil, you mean to say the organ at a wedding, the organ played, that's what I like about the South?
Well, what did you expect at a wedding? Tiger rag?
I guess not. Unless two tigers are getting married. Anyway, Phil, hurry over as soon as you can, will you?
I'll be there. Goodbye, Dad.
Goodbye. Phil's going to be a little late, kid, so as soon as Don comes, we'll start the rehearsal.
Look, Jack, before we start, don't you think you ought to go over to Ronald Colman's house and apologize to him for losing his Oscar?
Well, that can wait till next week.
But he's leaving for England tomorrow.
I can't help it. This whole thing was Coleman's fault.
Coleman's fault?
Certainly. This never would have happened if he hadn't won the Oscar in the first place. Believe me.
Mr. Benny's right.
Certainly.
Mr. Colman should be smart and make pictures like The Horn Blows at Midnight.
Darn tootin'. Anyway, Mary, it wasn't my fault that the Oscar was stolen from me.
I know, Jack, but the least you can do is go over and explain the whole thing to him.
Well, okay. I'll go over to the Colmans after rehearsal. Gee, I hope he's not too angry.
Are you all finished packing, Ronnie?
I will be in just a minute, Benita.
Dear darling, I'm really thrilled about our trip.
Yes. To be in England now that James Mason's over here.
Oh, Ronnie. Now, go on. Hurry and finish your packing.
Well, it won't take long. I hope we have a nice crossing. How's the weather on the North Atlantic this time of year?
It's rather cold and windy.
Oh, I'd better take a pair of the long ones. Say, Benita, did you call the newspaper office and tell them to forward our copies to London?
Oh, no, that'd be silly. They have all the news in the English papers.
Well, they don't have little Orphan Annie.
Yes, they do. Only they call her their parentless Penelope.
Oh, good.
Say, isn't it a shame you haven't got the Oscar to take to England with you?
Oh, darling, please. My doctor told me not to discuss that.
Well, don't give up hope yet. Why don't you go over and speak to Jack Benny? I mean, the Oscar must be around someplace. Things don't just disappear.
Oh, they don't, eh? 9 years ago, a gas man went into Benny's house and hasn't been seen since. Now, let's forget it.
All right. I'll help you finish packing. Let's see, you'll want to take these shirts.
Oh, Benita, careful. I'll pack those shirts myself.
That's quite all right. I don't mind helping. Here, let me put them in. Ronnie! Look what fell from between these shirts. Your Oscar.
Yes, so it is.
Well, you certainly don't seem very surprised at finding it.
Benita, let's finish the packing.
There's something very peculiar going on. When did you get your Oscar back?
Well, we'll discuss it on the boat, darling.
We'll discuss it now. Tell me everything.
All right, but I don't know all the details myself. I'll have our chauffeur tell you. Oh, Eddie, will you please come in here a moment?
Ronnie, you've had the Oscar right in this house, and you let Jack Benny suffer all these weeks?
Yes. Life can be beautiful. I'm sorry you discovered it so soon. I could have made Benny...
You wanted to see me, Mr. Colman?
Oh, yes, Eddie, yes. Mrs. Colman has discovered our little secret, and I want you to tell her the whole story about the Oscar.
Oh, that. Well, you see, ma'am, Mr. Colman was pretty fed up with Jack Benny's constant borrowing. So the night he borrowed the Oscar, Mr. Colman tipped me off and told me what to do. Well, I went out in front of the house. I was hiding behind a tree. And when Mr. Benny came out of your house and walked down the sidewalk... Hey, Bud.
Huh?
You got a match?
Yes, I have one right here.
Don't make a move. This is a stick-up.
Mister, put down that gun.
Shut up. I said this is a stick-up. Now, come on. Your money or your life? Look, Bud, I said your money or your life.
I'm thinking it over. Now, look, mister.
And I'll take that package you're carrying, too.
This package? But it isn't mine. It belongs to Ronald Colman. He wanted...
Lie down and give it to me or I'll drill you.
All right, here it is.
Now, lay down the sidewalk and count to 100.
Yes, sir. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
And that's exactly what happened, ma'am. And when I brought the Oscar right in the house and gave it to Mr. Colman.
Well, thank you, Eddie. You may go now.
Yes, sir.
Oh, don't stare at me like that, darling. It was time Benny was taught a lesson, and I'm glad I did it.
Ronnie, that was an awfully mean thing to do. And I love you for doing it.
Well, I'm glad you see it my way. Benita, are you sure the expressmen picked up all the trunks?
Yes. Now let's finish these valises, and then we'll,
Look, answer the door, will you, darling? I'm trying to close this bag.
All right. Oh, hello, Jack.
Oh, hello, Benita. I heard you were going to England, so I brought you this as a going-away gift.
Oh, what a beautiful bouquet of white roses.
You really like them?
Why, they're my favorite flower. In fact, I have a bush of them right over there. That's funny. They were there this morning.
Well, I was afraid that while you were in England, they might wither and die, you see. So I...
Who's at the door, Benita?
It's Mr. Benny. He's come to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Come on in, Jack. Ronnie's in the other room.
Well, almost packed, I see.
Yes, Jack, and tomorrow we'll be on our way.
Ronnie, I thought on the boat, time might hang heavy on your hands, so I brought you this book. Here.
Well, thank you, Jack. Nice of you to return it.
And that isn't all I brought, Ronnie. See, I've got something here for both you and Benita. A carton of Lucky Strike cigarettes.
A carton of Lucky Strikes?
And you'll love them. They're so round, Ronnie, and so firm, Benita, and so fully packed, Ronnie. They're so free and easy on the Oscar. On the draw. On the draw.
Yes, I know, Jack, I know. LSMFT stands for Lucky Strike, means fine tobacco.
Yes, you must have heard that once. And quality of product, is essential to continuing success. Here you are, Ronnie. Here are the cigarettes.
Thank you, Jack. How much are they?
$1. Oh, no. No, Randy. Mary told me not to. By the way, Benita, I want to give you a little advice.
What's that, Jack?
Well, while you're in England, if anyone wants to sell you any cashmere, tweeds, or woolen, grab them because they're a good buy.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. No, wait. Look, I might as well tell you the real reason I came over here.
The real reason?
Yes, Ronnie. I know you won't believe this, but the night I borrowed your Oscar, I was held up.
No.
Cross my heart and hope my swimming pool loses money this summer. And Ronnie, after losing your Oscar, I was so embarrassed I did everything I could to avoid you. I was afraid you'd see me. I practically lived in hiding. Every Sunday, I had to sneak out of my house down to NBC. Then after my broadcast, I'd sneak out of the studio.
Well, didn't you always do that?
Only on Sundays.
Well, Jack, it's funny you should be held up practically in front of our house.
Oh, it was a harrowing experience. You'll never know what I went through to protect your Oscar. Would you like me to tell you about it?
We'd love to hear it.
Well, the night I borrowed your Oscar, I left your house and was walking down the sidewalk, humming in my usual carefree way.
Hey, Bud.
Huh?
You got a match?
Yes, I have one right here.
Don't make a move. This is a stick-up.
A stick-up? Put down that gun, or by heaven, I'll make you rue the day that you were born. Put it down, I say!
Now, take it easy, mister. You'll get hurt. I'm not alone. I have a ferocious lion here.
A lion? That lion doesn't scare me. Quiet, you. I'll slap your teeth in. Take that. And now for you, tough guy.
Please, mister, please don't hurt me. Hey, fellas, come here. Help!
Why, you sniveling, white-livered, cringing coward. Take that.
Hey, fellas, he knocked me down. Come on, help me.
Okay, Chief.
Here we come. This guy's a tough one. We'll have to use our last resort. Give it to him.
It was a long time coming, but...
That did it. That rocket bomb stunned them a little. Come on, fellas. We better get out of here.
That was the last thing I heard, Ronnie. When I came to, all 500 of them were gone. And so was your Oscar. But I really did my best to protect it.
Stout fellow.
I protected that Oscar with my life.
That sounds pretty good, Johnny, but it ain't the way I heard it.
What?
Look, Jack, I might as well tell you. You can stop worrying about the Oscar. It was returned to me.
Who? How? When? What? How? Who?
All right now, Jack, don't ask any questions. The important thing is I got it back.
Well, that's wonderful. Gee, I've never felt so happy in my life. Now, look, Ronnie, if you had to give a reward to get the Oscar back, or ran into any other expense, don't worry. You're insured.
Yeah, I know.
Come on, Ronnie, we've got to finish our packing.
Pardon me, Mr. Colman. Do you want me to take the valises out to the car?
Yes, Eddie, and be sure
Ronnie,
to see that the...
Benita! Look, that's him! The man that helped me out!
Ronnie! Jack jumped right through the window.
And look at him run.
Gee, Mr. Colman, I'm sorry I frightened him.
He certainly left in a hurry.
Yeah, he sure did. I'll take his shoes back to him in the morning.
Ronnie, ferocious lion.
Rocket bomb.
Jack will be back in just a minute, but first here's Basil Rysdale.
Independent tobacco experts again name Lucky Strike first choice. Lucky Strike first choice over any other brand.
The famous Crosley poll has just completed an impartial survey in 11 southern tobacco states. This poll, taken among tobacco experts, reveals the smoking preference of the men who really know tobacco. Yes?
For their own personal smoking enjoyment, independent tobacco experts again name Lucky Strike first choice. Lucky Strike first choice over any other brand.
These are the experts, auctioneers, buyers, and warehousemen. And we believe their overwhelming preference for Lucky Strike has a direct relationship to the quality tobacco we purchase for Lucky's.
You've heard the poll results. Now listen to what Mr. Alexander Irvin, veteran warehouseman from North Carolina, recently said.
For a good many seasons, I've seen the makers of Lucky Strike buy fine, ripe, mellow tobacco. The kind of tobacco you just can't beat for smoking quality. I've smoked Lucky's for 14 years.
So for your own real, deep-down smoking enjoyment, remember...
LSMFT. LSMFT.
Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. So round, so firm, so fully packed, so free and easy on the draw.
Good night, folks.
This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.
Doesn't that just put the capper on that story? From 76 years ago, May 9th, 1948, Jack Benny here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Coming up next, we wrap up a Superman story about the nitrate shipment. That comes up next.
Alphabetical labels have become a part of our national language, a kind of government shorthand. Now we have a new one, CSP. CSP stands for Community Shelter Planning. To date, fallout shelter spaces have been located for over 165 million people in more than 180,000 buildings. So far, so good. Now, under CSP, Civil Defense is moving toward planned use of these shelters at the local community level. CSP will enable a local government to inform the people where to go and what to do in case of nuclear attack. CSP will designate specific shelters to be used by people located in specific areas. It will give instructions on how to improve protection existing in homes, including action that can be taken to do this in a crisis period. Community Shelter Planning, or CSP,
is the foundation of local emergency readiness.
And for more information, go to CivilDefenseMuseum.com. That's CivilDefenseMuseum.com. Now we wrap up this sequence of shows from Superman on the nitrate shipment. This episode originally broadcast 83 years ago, May 9th, 1941.
Presenting the transcription feature, Superman!
Up in the sky! Look! It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's Superman! And now, Superman, strange visitor from the planet Krypton, who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, wages a never-ending battle for truth and justice. In our last episode, we learned how young Pug Flanagan, in a daring attempt to help Kent and Jimmy Olsen escape from the cabin where they were held by a foreign agent, climbed down a rope suspended over the side of the ship, armed only with a nail and a rubber band. Fortunately, the cabin's porthole was open. Clinging to the swaying rope, Pug shot the nail at the single light bulb burning in the cabin, shattering it into a million fragments and throwing the room into darkness. Shots rang out as Kent, making use of the dark to become Superman, hurled himself at the foreign agent. Meanwhile, Pug, his work done, started up the rope hand over hand. But the shots had reached the ears of the agent's henchman, a man named Hunt, stationed on deck. Quickly, he ran to the rail where Pug had tied one end of the rope. In the glare of a flashlight, he recognized Pug climbing up. Whipping out a knife, he began to hack at the strands, trying to cut the rope. Listen. You boy, no use climbing any higher. I am cutting the rope.
No, no.
And when I do, you will drop into the sea.
Please, please.
Too late, my boy. There it goes. Lightning cleaves the black sky and thunder crashes as Pug, unable to swim, drops like a plummet into the raging, storm-swept sea. But through the open porthole of the agent's cabin, Superman's keen hearing catches Pug's last screaming call for help, recognizes it. In an instant, he is on deck, muscles tense, X-ray eyes searching the darkness. A shadowed figure runs across the deck, but faster than light, Superman follows him, clutches his arm.
Just a minute. I heard a cry for help. Where's that boy, Pug?
Who are you?
Never mind who I am. Answer my question.
Yes. Here's your answer. Oh. And broken.
Answer my question. Where's that boy?
You're killing me. You're crushing my ribs.
Talk, and talk fast.
It's over.
Where? Which side of the boat?
Stop it. Out.
I'll be back to take care of you. I don't know whether I can find poor Pug in all this storm, but I've got to try. He's on the surface at all. He can't have floated far. Up! Up! And away!
Like some giant bird, Superman wings out over the dark, turbulent waters, red cloak streaming in the wind, sharp eyes scanning the surface of the sea for some sign of Pug. Jagged bolts of lightning rip across the blackened sky, followed by the crashing boom of thunder. Battling the elements as no one else could, Superman circles closer and closer to the wind-tossed water. Each second carries him further and further away from the ship. Hope begins to wane. Pug is gone. And then suddenly...
What's that directly below me? A piece of driftwood? No, it's Pug. He's going under. Down, down. Okay, Pug. I've got you. He's unconscious. Better get him back to the ship in a hurry. Up, up, and away!
Covered with his gun, and he said the ship was going to be sunk in 10 minutes. Then suddenly I saw a face at the porthole. There was a crash of glass and the light went out. That's when he fired those shots.
And this face at the porthole, you do not know who it was?
No, Captain Estero. It all happened too fast.
Well, there is one thing of which we can be certain. Those two will not bother us. They are safe in irons.
But what about Clark Kent and Pug? They've disappeared.
I think we will find them someplace on the ship.
What about being sunk by a torpedo?
If we are hit, there is only one thing to do. Take to the boat.
In this storm?
What else is there? Come. We will find Senor Kent and this boy you call Pug.
Don't have to look very far, Captain. Mr. Kent.
I'm happy to see you, Senor.
What happened, Mr. Kent? I thought sure that guy killed you. When the light went out, his gun was pointing right at your chest. How did you escape?
Well, I guess it was bad marksmanship on his part, Jim.
How are the Barringtons?
Miss Barrington fainted, but she's all right now.
Oh.
Her father's with her in her cabin. Have you seen Pug?
Yes, he's safe and sound. That's what brought me up on deck in such a hurry. I heard Pug cry for help. One of our foreign friends was trying to throw him overboard. So tell me what happened to that pair.
They are both in irons, senor.
Oh, good. Now we can relax for a while.
Oh, no, we can't. Not if we're going to be torpedoed.
Jim, you'd better go down to the cabin and stay with Pug. Captain Estero and I will watch things up here.
Oh, gee, can't I be with you?
Well, Pug's alone in the cabin. And after what he did, I think he deserves some attention.
What do you mean?
Well, it was Pug who lowered himself over the side of the ship and broke that electric light bulb.
No kidding.
That's right.
Boy, then he deserves more than attention. He deserves a medal. I'll go right down to him. In case anything happens, call me.
I will.
A very nice boy, senor.
Jimmy? Oh, he's tough. Now, look, Captain. Jimmy's probably told you everything, including the possibility this ship may be torpedoed.
See, but what I am to do, senor? Shall I give orders to turn back?
I don't think that would help. I suspect the submarine lying in wait for us won't attack without a signal. If, as you say, the two men are in irons, there will be no signal. All we can do is watch and hope.
Meanwhile, in the darkness of a forward hold, 3 decks below, a hushed voice rises above the sound of the ship's engine.
Listen. Yeah? You said some time ago that we have another man on board.
Yeah, in the engine room.
You think he will have enough sense to find out where we are?
How can I tell?
I still do not understand what happened.
I told you that young swine, the skinny one, climbed down a rope and threw something into the porthole. I caught him and cut the rope. At least we accounted for one of them.
What good does it do us? Without our signal, Miller will not attack. We've got to get loose and free of these chains.
You're wasting your time. Relax.
Sure. What difference does it make to you? This is my mission. I'm responsible for its success. Do you know what will happen to me if I fail?
Quiet. Someone comes.
Yeah.
I could not come sooner.
What have you brought?
A hacksaw. It's all I could find.
Quickly. Start on this chain. Between my hands.
Yeah.
Can't you go any faster? You think we have all night?
Do the best I can.
What is doing on the ship?
I do not know. I heard you were in irons. I come as soon as I could. Yeah, there. It's through.
All right. Give me the saw.
Yeah.
I'll do the rest myself. Go back to the engine room. We don't want anyone looking for you.
Yeah, well.
When you hear the sound of a gun being fired, come at once to the lower deck, you understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Now go. Hold your arms out, Hans. In 5 minutes, we'll both be free.
Go ahead, Pug. What happened after that? Well, when I ditched the guy who was making out he was an old lady, I figured something was wrong in this tub. Yeah, there was plenty wrong. 2 foreign agents had us cornered in their cabin. Well, I didn't know that, but I knew something was rotten in Denmark. So I got me a hunk of rope, tied it to the rail, and went over the side. I'm telling you, Jim, when I saw you and Mr. Kent standing there with that guy pointing a gun at you, I nearly passed out. Boy, I want to Wait a tell minute, you... Pug. Huh? Someone at the door. He was trying to open it. Get under the bed. Maybe the man who threw you overboard. I'll get into bed.
Oh. He was asleep, Ham. Yeah.
You didn't bother him.
No. Come on. We go to the forward deck and give the signal.
Yeah. I do not think you will see any light, Senor Kent. No submarine in these waters would carry lights.
Oh, probably not. I thought I heard the purr of a motor launch.
Huh?
Jimmy, I thought Pug, what are you doing here?
Mr. Kent, those 2 men, the agents, they got loose.
What?
No, it cannot be.
That's what I thought, but they came into our cabin. I made believe I was asleep.
Yes?
They said they were going to show a signal on the lower deck at the forward part of the ship. Hey, look. What's that light? Flashing on and off. That must be them.
I will put an end to that.
No, Captain. Leave them alone.
You're not going to let us get torpedoed, Mr. Kent.
Listen. Hear that motorboat?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear it.
It's going to pick them up.
But see, what are we standing here for?
We must stop them, senor.
What's that?
A gun fired across our bow. In order to heave to. Don't pay any attention to
But,
him.
senor...
Trust me, Captain. I forgot to tell you, boys, that we have a visitor on board. A friend of yours, Jimmy.
Friend of mine?
Hey, have you been holding out on me?
I don't get you, Mr. Kent.
Superman is on board, Jim.
Superman?
No kid. Where is he?
Waiting to take care of these murderers in his own way. You two stand here at the rail so you can see the show. Captain, I'd like you to go up on the bridge and shine your searchlight across the water amidships.
But, senor, this is most unusual.
I know, but it's the best way.
Very well, I will do it.
Oh, where are you going, Mr. Kent?
Tell Superman we're ready. The launch is on its way back to the submarine. Now, don't move from this spot no matter what happens.
What do you think's going to happen, Jim?
Gosh, I don't know. It's all kind of strange.
What if something goes wrong?
Well, nothing can go wrong with Superman around.
You know, I don't get this Superman business. How does the guy know where to find
Look,
it?
the searchlight's on.
Oh, it sure lights things up. There's the sub. I can see it. Look, Jim.
I see it. And I see something else, too.
What?
That white streak in the water. It's a torpedo coming right at us.
No, it can't be.
I tell you it is. Look, it's right in the path of the light now. We're going to be hit.
Jim, up there in the sky, look.
It's Superman.
He's diving down. Down to the water.
Look at him, like a bullet.
What's he going to do?
Watch him. He's going after that torpedo.
Look, he's got it.
Pug, do you see what I see? He's turning the torpedo around, sending it back at the submarine.
There it goes.
Right into the submarine.
And so another Superman adventure ends with the enemies of law and order getting a taste of their own medicine. But there's bound to be something doing when Clark Kent, Jimmy, and their newfound friend, Pug Flanagan, return to Metropolis. So be with us when we begin a new, even more thrilling adventure with Superman.
Tune in the next thrilling installment of the transcription feature, Superman.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's Superman! Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Action Comics magazine.
A very fast conclusion to that story, wouldn't you say? 83 years ago, May 9th, 1941, the Nitrate Shipment episodes, the series of Superman. And as we said, another episode will be coming in 3 days here. Let's see, and that's going to be, that's Friday, Saturday. It'll be on Sunday's podcast, so there we go. Coming up tomorrow on the program, Crime with Dragnet. This is your FBI, suspense, and the fatal fillet matter of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and another episode of Claudia. Thanks for joining us here on Classic Radio Theater. I'm Wyatt Cox.